Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Spaced Out Radio tonight. Brand new look. Yes, a brand new look to SOR headquarters here. And I'm telling you, we got a little bit of technical snafus happening here because I had to put everything together. But I'm telling you, you guys, I sound really quiet. I don't know if you guys are noticing that or not. I will catch up in the chat room so far. Originally, our guest was going to be Allison Yellowknee. Sometimes mistakes happen. She wrote in that we are going to be, we were supposed to be on the 28th, not the 23rd. We're going to get her rescheduled. But, oh, yes, thank you for reminding me. Come on. Come on. There we go. There's the on-air sign. We are good to go now, I think. Can you see that okay? There we go. All right. Now we're back. I appreciate it. I'm just getting comfortable here. I finished it off today with the studio, so we're going to try it. I know the lighting is off. I got to get different lighting in here, but that's okay. That's the easy part. All right, let's get right to the roll call here. Race fan in the gold medal position, Gunther Haas taking home the silver with Awesome and B in the bronze medal position tonight. We got Roy Boy, Eris Mana, Dutch Hank, Jeffrey DeRuin is here. Hey, Wes, how you doing? Simon Condon, how you doing? Simon's going to be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Moving on here, let us continue with Grantavius, the lovely Diesel Girl. How you doing? Stunning Samantha. What's going on? Michael Smithy. Welcome, and thank you for kicking off the Super Chat tonight. Very much appreciate your love and support of Spaced Out Radio. Thank you so much. Who else is here? Let's take a look. Oh, D. Cohen is here with an awesome Super Chat as well. Thank you, D. Cohen, man. How you doing? I hope you had a great weekend, and thank you again for your love and support of SOR. John Hinoyosa is here. He'll be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. Desert Rat, Kevin, gorgeous Kathy Evans, National Memorial. How y'all doing? The lovely Kathleen Hughes, the stunning Nikki, Jurassic Joey, Awesome Ann Palmer, A Muse, Grand Paul Holland. Thank you all for coming on in. Really appreciate it. And let's continue on. Dirty Filth, Luscious Jewels, and who else is here? Oh, let's take a look. Enzo! There we go. Absolutely love it. Thank you for coming on in, my friend. And who else is here? Let's take a look. Our man, Millennium. He never misses an episode. Nope. And Christine, looking lovely tonight. Noble Patrick, good to have you here. Hi, lovely Laura. And Brown Dwarf. And King of Waco Mundo. What's happening? Richard Elmore, thanks for coming on in. And we are about a minute away from going here, so that means it's time to start the radio side. And let's do that. Just like so. Radiohead, how you doing? The gorgeous Fidgety Aura, Gordium, Bobbert, Nicholas Shaughnessy has fantastic hair, Mennonite Abe, and Mark Ellens, the lovely Manitoba Becky, she is the wheat queen of Brandon, Alien Critter, Sweet Donna C., Cosmo Fang, how y'all doing? And who else is here? D Worm, the gorgeous cryptid huntress. How you doing? Thank you for joining us. Charles, let me be your huckleberry if you don't mind. I would appreciate that. Hi, Worsley. Thank you for joining us. And Truth Entertainment, welcome to the show. And who else is here? Let's take a look. Scrolling up. I think we got all that. And Bigfoot Michigan Rob, thank you for joining us. Super Knower. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived. See, he even says you can now start the show, Captain. I will start the show. The gorgeous Jenny. Violetta, welcome to Spaced Out Radio. How are you? The lovely Aunt Edna. Philip Baca, good to have you all here. Eve Clancy, welcome to SOR Chat. Elena Campbell, welcome to SOR Chat. Here we go, everyone. It's time to rock. Get your horns up. Let's do this thing. Of Central British Columbia to you listening around the world. This, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including Rockin' Out to Bumblefoot, reading Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a great show planned for you tonight. What is up with the mainstream and UFOs? From After Hours, Grant Baker is going to join us here momentarily. Then, in hour number 3, we're going to head to the swamp. Our resident swamp dweller is going to hang out with us with another spooky story. The fedora-wearing Jon Hudson is back with the UFO report. And Shirky Poo is going to rock the news. All right, let's get right to it. You know, it's been a very busy couple weeks in the UFO world, especially all over mainstream media, and this show in particular, where we have been hammering it home on what is going on in the world. You know, UFOs has become a very complex topic here. We saw what happened last week with the congressional hearings. Whether you liked it or not, well, that is a different story. That is all about what we were going to get, which was pretty much nothing, even though there was some positives and some good points in there. But has the mainstream really caught on to the fact, outside of the media, what they do when they get a hot button topic before they drop it, have the people hooked up to it? We're going to go through it tonight because Grant Baker, I always want to call him Grantavius or Grant T. Mercury because of that beautiful mustache he has, is here hanging out with us tonight. We're going to have a decent conversation over the next couple of hours. And if you're in one of our chat rooms, we want you to participate as well with lots of questions tonight regarding everything to do with this topic because it's important. You know, when you get into the government settings of things, the one thing that can be for sure is we are never, ever going to get the full truth as to what's going on. Grant Baker, your mustache is looking perfect. How you doing, buddy?
Doing pretty good, Dave. Thank you for having me back on. It's good seeing you.
I'm trying here to get my microphone because it doesn't sound right in my head. And, you know, when things don't sound right. So for people who don't know in our radio audience, I mean, you can't really see. I did a complete shift of my studio this weekend. I had a full long weekend off, and I figured, you know what? I'm tired of the look that I have. It looked cluttered. It looked messy. Like I just hadn't had a change in a while. Same studio for like 4 years since we set it up. And I'm like, man, I gotta do this thing, man. I gotta tidy it up. And so I shifted everything. But the thing is, even though you're trying not to hit buttons, somehow that every time you put it all back together, it just sounds different. Like everything is uncomfortable for me tonight, man. Everything is uncomfortable. So I'm trying to get around it. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. We'll get there. Anyways, Grant, thank you so much. And one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on, our original guest, Allison Yellowknee, was supposed to be here telling her about about her family's experiences with UFOs, UAP, extraterrestrials. And she is a brilliant, brilliant interview from Northern Alberta. I've interviewed her once. I think she's only done like 2 interviews, maybe even just the one. But her story is powerful. But she made a mistake, okay? And we're going to rebook her. What happened was she's actually moving. She sold her home and she was moving. And when she checked her calendar, because I was trying to get a hold of her tonight, couldn't get a hold of her. And then like about 35 minutes before showtime, she messages me. She goes, "Oh, crap, Dave. I'm so sorry to you and the Spaced Out Radio listeners because I accidentally put the date as the 28th in my calendar."
Oh,
and
man.
And obviously, today is not the 28th. So we're going to rebook her. It's an honest mistake. Sometimes that thing happens. But you know what? We got Grant. We got his very impressive lip blade. And we are going to continue on here. Grant, you've been now helping co-host the After Hour show a couple weeks now with Fedora John and Bree and Big Willie. It's been a big learning curve for you on our YouTube channel, getting to know everything. But one thing that you are previous to that is you're an experiencer of the paranormal and supernatural. And, I know you have taken a vested interest in trying to figure out, what's going on this planet, much like all of us are. Ever since last week with the congressional hearings, I think if we're in this community, have all been trying to really get to it, into what's happening around the world. And if people are paying attention, what's your thoughts a week later after this congressional hearing?
I kind of changed my mind on it, actually. Excuse me. They don't give you a lot of information, obviously, but the fact that I'm looking at the silver lining here, we're on track. We're talking about it. And, I understand that they don't want our adversaries knowing the sensors, and we don't want our adversaries knowing what we know. And so they're being very hush hush about it. And I can understand that. And so the fact that they're talking about it is kind of just proof of the pudding for me. And it's a lot of the world says, it's a big nothing burger yet again, but at the same time, we're still talking about it. It's still on the table, and that's very encouraging for me.
Well, you know what? It is encouraging, but are your friends talking about it? You go to work during the day. Are people talking about it around you? Because to me, if I'm not bringing up the subject, I sure as heck know that people aren't bringing it up.
It's funny that you say that. Because of my job, I actually interact with a lot of people during the day. And either they'll see my hat or my shirt, because I wear a lot of, Sasquatch, Bigfoot, memorabilia and stuff like that. And a lot of the times they'll hit me up, "Hey, I like your hat." Which, when somebody says that to me and I have a Bigfoot hat on, game changer right then and there. "Oh yeah, I saw him once," and I just leave it at that. And then that's when they come at me. That's how I've noticed a lot of people are still kind of not real easy with they're just not used to the fact of talking openly about this with a lot of people, especially strangers. So now I've noticed that there is a rise with that, but no, most of my friends don't talk to me about it. And I do have to be the one that brings it up 90% of the time, but it is changing slowly but surely.
Do you think that's a good thing for the public? Is the public ready to really find out what's going on?
Absolutely not. I don't believe the public is ready in any way, shape, or form. It's the same thing with the pandemic. You see what happens, like I've said before, and I'm going to stick to that until, there's plenty of us out there that want to know right now. There's a lot of us that are ready, but until the majority of the people on the planet either know about it or can accept it for what it is and not freak out and just kind of, I hate to say this, but I actually agree with the trickle in effect, is because the world really isn't ready for it. They really are not ready for it.
No, I don't think so either. And we're going to get into a lot of hot button topics regarding this tonight. And, it's one of those things where we want to hear from the public. So if you're in one of our chat rooms tonight or on Twitter, do us a favor, ask a question. We will discuss that question tonight. It doesn't matter. Usually we save questions until hour number 2 of the show. Tonight, it's going to be a little bit different. You want to fire questions up about what's going on? You let us know. What do you want to hear regarding this topic? Because it is that important to the world. I mean, Grant, when you look at it, there are not many topics regarding humanity that will affect everyone on the planet. Look, there's a few. If Jesus Christ himself came down from the heavens, that's going to be either a very good day or a very bad day for some of us. Okay. All right. If there's a nuclear holocaust, that's going to affect everybody. But there are very few topics on this world that actually will affect every single one of us.
Exactly.
Okay. Extraterrestrial contact is one of them. And I am very sensitive to the fact, and I don't know if you're in the minority and I'm in the minority, to the fact that I don't know if humanity is truly ready for this. If you look at it, you being on the side that humanity may not be ready, why do you feel so strongly towards that idea?
The reason is a lot of people have a problem with accepting things like this. When people have that kind of a block of being able to accept what's right in front of their face, then they do kind of a panic mode. And I don't want to get into the science of how your brain works, but it's kind of like the center of your brain goes into a fight or flight, which is something that is not controlled consciously. You cannot control that emotion that you have, which is something that we've gotten from way back when. You have an alien present itself into society, you're going to have billions of people that are going to go through that simultaneously. And that is not going to be something that is going to be fun for anybody that is around, especially people that are driving. I mean, you can only imagine. I'm not even talking about religious beliefs. There's people that with religious beliefs, if you believe in God, I don't care what type of religious belief you have, but everybody believes in something. And whether it's God or Jehovah or Allah or the great grandfather in the sky, all they got to do is moralize it like, oh yeah, well, if he made us, he could have made everybody in the universe. So I mean, it's real easy religious wise to just get over it. That's the easy thing. But the mental block of having seen aliens as a child with Sigourney Weaver, and then all of a sudden something, who knows what it looks like, similar just shows up on your front door, so to speak, that's going to be terrifying for a lot of people. And I think the pandemonium it'd be exponential.
Well, and I think that's the reason why when we look towards or look back at last week for the U.S. congressional hearings, I think that's why we saw a lot of vanilla questions.
Mhm.
That's why we saw, are we sure it isn't swamp gas being asked regarding this? We all know it's not swamp gas. We've known for months, not just we as in the podcasters, but those who are speaking about it.
Yeah.
Okay. They know it's not swamp gas or Russia or China or, some little, weapons of mass destruction hut in the middle of Syria. We know it's not them.
Mhm.
We know it's not the United States. We know that it is something else. And I think that Mike Gallagher, the representative who went off last week, really put it in a smart way. We don't know where they're coming from. Is it space? Is it time travel from the future? Is it inner Earth? Is it somewhere else that we haven't figured out yet? Different dimensions, different portals that got them here. And I think that this is something that a lot of us, even those of us as experiencers, have never thought of. Even though I'm very pro, these are aliens from outer space.
Mhm.
That's, it would take a hard list of evidence for me to believe otherwise. But how do you feel about that?
I'm a nuts and bolts kind of guy as well. I really do think that I've listened to a lot of the stories where people were talking about being on the ships, as experiencers, and the ships were sentient, and I can wrap my head around that. That's fine. That's no big deal. And being able to go through time and space, sure, there's probably technology that's well advanced as ours that are able to bend time and space, if that's what they even think it is. It's just our terminology for it. But yeah, even if they come through portholes, the only way I'd really believe it is right in front of my eyes. But now, so to speak, last week I'm driving down to Los Angeles, and not only did I see it in broad daylight, it wasn't at night. It was one of the rare ones that you get to see in the daylight. Bright light in the sky, and it just made a weird turn that was the shape of a bullet, and it disappeared right in front of my eyes. And the great thing is my son, who finally got to see his first UFO, and oh man, it was pandemonium in the truck. He really enjoyed that.
Your son enjoyed it.
Mhm.
Okay. And I know with my son, I take him out going to look for Bigfoot.
Oh yeah.
He loves it. But him and I have a rule. He cannot leave my side because I don't want any of this David Politis stuff happening, with my kid. I really don't. But, for your son, is he at his age, is he very accepting to the fact that there's UFOs, aliens, Bigfoot, everything like that?
That is a very good question. And yes, he is. And I think that's what we're kind of waiting for, the people that are looking for the government to say there's aliens. Okay. It only takes one generation, which is a blink of an eye, to completely do anything you want, to convince people what you want, to change our curriculum. Anything you want to do can happen within the course of one lifetime. And I think the acceptance of these children are what's going to bring it out, because they're going to be the ones that are ruling the country after we're gone. And they're going to be the ones that are going to be able to accept it the easiest, especially since nowadays it's in the news. They're seeing it. He's asking me questions. His friends are asking me the same questions. And I think I hate to say it, I'd love to see him on my lifetime, but realistically, if you look at long-term disclosure, it might be theirs.
Well, and you know what? I was told by an insider that we're not going to see it until we're older.
Okay.
And he basically told me our grandkids should be walking around with aliens on this planet. That isn't that far away. Like you said, it's a blink of an eye.
Mhm.
But that's an entire, you think about it, there's still 2 generations above us. Okay, our parents, our grandparents, if we're still lucky enough to have grandparents alive, some people still have great grandparents alive. Okay, so there is still a number of the generations that are still, quite set in their own ways and not wanting to deal with this type of information. But the reality is, your children, my children, the younger generations, they're like, come on, bring on those aliens, man. Let's just get to it. Let's just share the love of the universe here, man. Even though it's not that simple. We're going to go to a question right from the top here from Lawnmower Girl. Is UFO disclosure needed? What is the benefit? Go for it, Grant.
Oh, the benefit of it is everybody wants to be validated. Excuse me. So a lot of us in the field that are studying this, the things that we see, all the experiencers, we're the ones pushing for disclosure the hardest, and we're the ones that are like patiently or impatiently, so to speak, tapping on the table, waiting, like, come on, give us our piece of pie. For most of the public, a disclosure is not needed in my mind, because they're not really looking for it yet. Once the word gets out, then at that point, I think they're going to have to start to get that ball rolling faster. For us, it's disclosure is not needed. We already know it's real. We've seen it with our own eyes. We've been really close to it. I really don't need it myself. I know it's real. I'm just waiting for everybody else to wake up.
For me, I look at it this way. I don't think it's necessary. And I think, Lawnmower Girl, that is a very, very healthy question.
Mm-hmm.
Why, after 70 years of cover up, denial, tinfoil hats, making fun of people, ruining people, have they all of a sudden decided that it's time to start talking UFOs and eventually aliens? It makes no sense to me. It makes no sense at all. And the only two reasons why I can think of this happening is this. Number one, a false flag, which I do not believe is going to happen. A false flag alien invasion that leads to another full world shutdown. I don't believe that for a second. But number two, which I think is more predictable, I think that the phone rang. I'm going to put this in plain English. The phone rang. The American government answered it. And it was like, hey, this is Ted and Martha from Zeta Reticuli. We have our ship, docked and loaded. We're coming for a vacation to planet Earth, and we want to meet up with you guys. That is what I think happened. And maybe not exactly in those terms or anything like that, but I think what it did was it said, okay, we are 28 years away from landing on Earth. You guys have 28 years to all of a sudden get the public up and ready on this subject. I don't think it's a threat, even though we're seeing a lot of these Tic Tacs around, especially they want us to believe it's happening in military areas and military areas only. I don't believe that for a second. I think they're everywhere. Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, if they're only in military areas, Grant and people in our chat room and people listening are not going to be seeing UFOs over their houses unless they live by bases or training areas. No. We're seeing them. We are. This is just all part of the narrative. So I think that a phone call was made from somewhere in the middle of space, and they said, hey, we're on our way, we're coming, and you guys better be prepared for it. And 28 years is a blink of an eye on this planet. It really is. And if you look at it that way, they have to prepare us. They have to prepare the generations. So that way, when it does happen, and hopefully they found out by then that they're not coming over for dinner, if you know what I mean, and we're the main course, that we are going to see extraterrestrials on this planet. And I don't think that there's a choice anymore. I don't think somebody like Luis Elizondo, who did his best along with others to cover up this phenomena the way they have, is all of a sudden going to do a beeline change course unless there is something real on its way. And that's what I believe. All right. Grant Baker, my guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio, the reality of what is going on. Let's go to Mennonite Abe's question for you, Grant, as we got about just over 90 seconds. What is the impact of the Wilson documents being entered into the record by Congress? What is your thoughts on that, Grant?
I don't have enough information on that one yet as to pose any thoughts on it, to be honest with you. I'm still kind of working through a few things, and I'm going to have to look this one up.
All right. I'll answer that. I have a personal hatred with the Wilson documents. All right. But I'm going to keep that to myself. Oh God, I wish I could go public with that. But let's just say that story was supposed to break here on Spaced Out Radio, and it didn't. And we got screwed on that story. But nonetheless, I think the Wilson documents, if they are proven to be accurate, which Admiral Wilson again recently is denying that they ever took place, and Eric Davis is saying, yes, they did. I think what they have to do is they have to either A, grant Admiral Wilson some sort of immunity for talking about this, so that way he doesn't lose his rank, his pension, or anything along those lines, or they have to bring him in for private congressional hearings on the matter behind the doors. This one ain't going public. It is not going public at all. They are going to keep this one behind closed doors. And that's what's scary about it, because we're going to be relying on all sorts of conjecture and hearsay moving forward on the Wilson documents. We got more questions from our audience coming up here on Spaced Out Radio as we wrap up the first half hour of the show. Second half hour with my guest, the Grantavious one, Grant Baker. We're going to continue with your questions. We're going to continue with the impact on the public. We want to know. If you're in our chat rooms, put your questions in capital letters. They're easier for old Davy's eyes to read. We'll be back with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio right after this. All right, we're clear. We got a lot of new people in our chat room tonight. I just want to let you guys know we aren't an ordinary podcast. We're actually a live radio show. So we have to take commercial breaks for our radio side to time out with them. So if you don't mind, hang out. You get to hear the behind the scenes stuff of what we talk about on the YouTube side, even on the podcast side. If you're listening in on Spreaker, and this is going out to all our podcast networks as well. But the radio side gets the commercial side of everything. And I'm going to quickly, I know I'm missing a bunch here. I'm a few minutes behind. Let me quickly, before we go any further, whip through this because I like to say hello to everybody who is in our chat room. And trust me, I am saving the questions here, so you don't need to retype them. I've got them all. Let's see who showed up here. Michael Darling, good to see you. Strangeland, nice to have you here. And there's Chris Holm. How you doing, buddy? Good to have you back. And he's a good dude. Thurston Howell III, what's happening? Gong Show, Team Roswell, how you doing, buddy? And Mark Ellens, nice to have you here. And Eddie Rodriguez, thank you so much for the super chat. I will get to your comment a little bit in a little bit here, Eddie. So just bear with me, and I will get to it during the show when we're live. And let's see who else we have here. Matthew Kennedy, thanks for coming on in. Dolly, how you doing? Well, I'll get to your question next, my dear. And Dolly's going to be a guest here coming up soon. Bean Jelly, welcome to SOR Chat. A very powerful first statement. Poop. Very nice. Very nice. Any other host would be like, come on. Not me, man. Not me. That is high quality verbiage right there. Luke 99, what's happening, buddy? And Uncle Dale in your power stash. Very nice to see you. And who else do we have here? Let's see here. Brazelhoff, a.k.a. Christoph. Nice to see you. And Steve Wolf, nice to have you here. And who else is here? Vash the Impaler. Nice to have you here. Penman. Give you one of those. And let's see here. River Dogma, thanks for coming on in. Oob to Joe's Main. You've got Lola. Yeah, you do. Where's my picture, Joe? I need my picture of Lola. Kevin Moonlicht, how you doing, buddy? And Superknower, Magnus Zerum, thanks for coming on in. Mitchell Darling, thanks for joining us, buddy. And who else is here? Well, let's see. I'm caught up to 9:27, so I'm 5 minutes behind right now in the chat room. It's amazing how quickly you guys chat. Bear with me. Margie O looking lovely tonight. Hey, there's Super Quest. How you doing? Paul War, thank you for joining us for the first time. Big J, how you doing, buddy? Thanks for coming on in. The gorgeous Thin Lizzie Borden. Yep, she is gorgeous with her blue hair. I'm a fan of the blue hair. I give thumbs up to the blue hair. Let's see who else we have here. I think I'm caught up on names. I really do think I am. Let's see here. We got about a minute and a half. Dave does not love the Maple Leafs. Let's not spread horrible rumors about that. That's terrible. My Oilers are kicking ass and taking names right now. Mm-hmm. Truth Entertainment. How big is Big Feet's Winkle Dinkle? I've listened to many theories and stories, and it's never remarked on. Well, I'll just answer this off the air. I bet you he's packing some heat. I will say that. There's no shrinkage there. There's no None whatsoever. And that's where we're going to leave it. Big thank you tonight to Eddie, D. Cohen, and Smithy for the super chats. The super chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. Cajun Tui, welcome to SOR Chat. Thank you for joining us. And we got about 40 seconds here. and then we're going to rock and roll. And then I got to scroll back up about 15 minutes in order to get back to the questions. And yeah, it's the way we do it around here. All you newbies like Eve Clancy, you're like, what the hell am I listening to? It's what we do. It's all about the woo. All about the woo. All right, let's do this thing. Here we go. 10 seconds. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I really appreciate it. Want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight. Your questions regarding what's going on in the mainstream with UFOs. Joining me tonight from After Hours, our weekend show, we got Grant T. Baker. The T stands for Terrific Mustache. And there we go. Grant, how you doing, buddy?
Pretty good, man. Thanks for having me back. This is awesome. I love it.
All right. Let's get right to Dolly's question. And Dolly's going to be a guest here in a short time on this show because she's got one hell of an amazing experience going on. She's asking, how many people don't already know about UFOs? Well, do you want to take that one first, Grant, or you want me to?
Let's just take the United States. I can't say for the as a globe, I wouldn't know, but I know the United States is about 1/3 of the people don't believe in them and don't know about them. I mean, if you ask them, I think everybody in the globe's heard of the word UFO, heard the term UAP, but how many people actually believe in it versus the people that don't? I think it's about 2 out of 3 that do believe in it, and the other third has nothing to do with it.
I think there's a lot of people out there, too. We cannot cancel the fact that there's a lot of people out there who don't want to know about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Whether they may believe, they could be absolutely petrified, afraid, whatever it may be. There is a lot of excuses that we have. I know there's people that I work with that are absolutely petrified of the subject. They will say, hey, I don't want to be talking about that, man. Don't bring that UFO crap up around me. I don't believe in it. That's their excuse. I don't believe in it. Well, why don't you believe in it? Oh, it's too scary to think about. Right? But this is reality. Let's go to Kim's question. What does ready look like? That is a powerful question. Want me to start or you want to go?
You go ahead and go on that one. I'm having a little bit of a glitch or a delay going on here.
Okay. Well, I will start with that one, Kim. I think ready looks like the fact when we have been given proper information where not everything is swamp gas. It's not little green men. Lou Elizondo isn't hiding behind his NDAs. The government isn't hiding behind backdoor policy and backdoor meetings. I think that what we need to do to be ready is we need to know. Look, we don't need to know all of the secrets that are out there. We don't need to know about how many aliens survived Roswell. We don't need to know if there are other crash sites where bodies have been found, or alive or dead. What we do need to know, though, is what is happening. Why is this happening? What happened? Just the truth is readiness. The hiding is not. Now, the people who are hiding this are saying, look, whether it's because of the Russians and the Chinese and any other adversary about the technology that we have gained from this, okay, that's one thing. But another big thing is this. If you're hiding it because you're afraid of how people are going to react, the truth What are we told since childhood? The truth may hurt, but it's always the best result.
Mm-hmm.
And hiding this is going to make things worse. It has made things worse because now you look at what's going on, the conspiracy theories and everything that have happened regarding this subject, the people's lives who have been ruined over this, people who have lost jobs, people who have complete nightmares. This is what is going on. The truth is what we need. We don't need the whole truth. We just need the truth. And I think that's a fair assessment. How about you, Grant?
I agree with that. I think I have a little bit more to add to it. When you want to introduce an alien species into this globe, you got to also put your shoe on the other foot, or their shoe, so to speak. So they're coming as another intelligent being that happens to be spacefaring or however they travel, and they're coming to us too. We're strangers to them too, even though they're the ones that are coming to us right now. The thing is I think if you started leaking very carefully, I don't even know if leaking is the right word. I wish I hadn't have said that. The thing is if you started showing people what they look like, if we have the ability to do so, and getting people used to the idea that, it's okay. You see an elephant, you're used to it, you've been around it at one point or another. Just because it's new, it might be scary. It's another intelligent race. They've been prepping this for years with Star Trek. That's one of those deals where I think if people just understood more of the physiology of the being, or what they might look like and how they might act, and just kind of settle their heads so that fear factor can dissipate. At that point, everything that you said with a little bit of that sprinkled in, I think would really help.
Very much so. Okay, Strangeland is asking, if disclosure happens, people want answers. UFOs equal what? And what else is on, in, and around Earth? That's the big question right now. Where are they coming from? What are they? Who are they? What's their postal code? Do they have a tax number? Right? I mean, we don't know. We don't know.
Nope. But there's a lot more questions can be asked. Here's the thing. If disclosure happens and in and around Earth, now you have a lot more there's a lot of questions that are going to come up once you realize they're here and they're nuts and bolts, or if they're ethereal or from a different dimensions. Once you figure that out, and it could be multiple different versions of these, it could be nuts and bolts, it could be from different dimensions. But once we know, then there's going to be a whole lot more questions like, okay, how did you get here? Is there more of you? Is there other dimensions other than just ours and yours? I mean, the Earth's hollow. What? Like, how does this work? How do you guys have? The questions will go on and on and on. So that's the biggest question of them all.
All right, Lawnmower Girl. If people cannot handle a person dressed as a clown, which I sure as hell can't, hate clowns, hate them, how could they even begin to fathom an alien? Well, legitimate question, Grant.
It is a very legitimate question. There are going to be some people that can't do it, just like people that don't like clowns. I don't like nutcrackers. I can stand next to one. I know what they are. They still creep me out, and that's just going to be the way it is. There's movies out there where there's aliens hanging in and around people, and there's some that will reject them, and there's some that are going to say, okay, yeah, you're cool. It's going to be a hard road. That's going to be a really bumpy road, and there's not a lot of people are going to, well, I can't say not a lot of people. It's going to be a definite percentage that are just going to reject it altogether and freak out. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why we're really not ready.
I don't think we're ready either. I really don't. And I hate to sound pessimistic like that. I don't want to be that guy. You're not ready for the truth. You can't handle the truth. I don't think that's what it's about. But there is reality to this.
Mm-hmm.
How is this going to affect markets? How is this going to affect food processing? How is this going to affect the dollar? How is this going to affect gold, silver? How is it going to affect economies? Which countries that are, say, overly religious are going to panic and all of a sudden start shooting at anything that's in the sky? All right. There's a lot to worry about right now. A lot to worry about. And these are, and trust me, people, when I say this, because I have been told this, There are people at the Pentagon who have these exact same worries about disclosure, that it isn't just as simple as saying, hey, boys and girls, infinite universe, we found aliens, see ya, good night, brother.
Yeah.
That's not the way it works.
No.
There are legitimate concerns here. And how it's going to affect 7.8 billion of us is one of the big questions. Let's go to Christine. I'm new to some of this, and even I'm ready, LOL. But what the heck is a cryptid?
Oh, you got the perfect question. Do you mind if I stand up for a second?
You go.
Okay. And knock that off the wall. Here you go.
Well,
This
that's
is-
how you do it.
There's your cryptids.
Any type of monster. Any type of monster.
Yep. Bigfoot, Mothman, Dogman, Chupacabra. All of those are cryptids.
It's a big, big world out there, man.
It is. I love it.
Big world. All right. Vash the Impaler is asking. He's got some sweet chin hair, by the way. Sweet, sweet chin hair. He is asking, if aliens present themselves in front of children, Zimbabwe, for example, we know that we are ready and we've been ready. Let's stop saying we're not. Okay. Those who have had contact, Vash, and those who have studied this are maybe ready. Okay. I know hundreds of people in my circle, from my parents to my best friends to the people around me, that are absolutely terrified of this topic. Terrified. They have interest and intrigue in learning, but they've seen a little bit too much Independence Day. All right. And that's the truth of it. Look, people who listen to this show, the majority of people who listen to this show have never been face to face with an extraterrestrial. Some have. Some don't want it to happen again. But I could tell you, when I was face to face with an extraterrestrial 200 feet away from me in April of 2014, I was not ready. I thought I was ready. I thought I could handle it. And I froze. Meantime, Samantha Mowat is saying, let's go over there and say hello. Not a hope in hell. Not a hope in hell. Not doing it. Not ready to do it. Not happy about the idea of doing it. But that's just where it is. And that's where we're coming from regarding this. So
Yeah.
some are ready. I'm not saying everybody's not. But we have to realize there are 4.5 billion people on this planet plus who pray to a religious deity every day. And those people, for the most part, even the Catholics, no hiding behind what the Pope said, okay, a few years ago, who believe that anything that comes from space is Beelzebub and his troops ready for Armageddon. And I hate to put it that way. I'm not trying to be negative. Not trying to be negative at all, Grant.
Mhm.
But that's the reality.
Can I extrapolate on the Zimbabwe one?
Please.
So when the biggest Vash, the biggest part of your question there was the children. There were teachers there that saw this as well, but it was the children. And the teachers kind of stood back in awe, and a lot of them, and every single one of them had the same pictures and everything. And I understand that, but children are much more accepting of a lot of things than adults are. Adults, once you start growing up and your brain chemistries change, and you get kind of tempered. We'll just put it that way. And so you're hardwired. Yeah, go
Can I
ahead.
interrupt you on that? You just hit something on the head, that as adults, we get tempered with things. I was reading on my community Facebook page today. Heaven forbid if somebody in our area has driven by at a certain time by someone's house and their children playing outside 3 times over the last 3 weeks. Immediately, this lady is thinking predator. goes on Facebook about being a predator, and be careful about this person driving a white Jeep. Okay. So I respond by saying, maybe he's not a predator. Maybe, just maybe, he lives in the area or has a boyfriend or girlfriend in the area that he comes to see during the day. Maybe he has a mistress. Maybe, just maybe, that's the time he lives in the area and that's the time he goes to work. Maybe that's the time he goes to pick up his own child at school. Maybe. And I said, maybe if there is a concern, instead of going on Facebook and potentially ruining someone's life, why don't we call the police and say, hey, just out of curiosity, this is what's happening. What do I do? Children, on the other hand, they're just going to keep playing unless they've been made bear aware. Okay, my son is very bear aware. Okay, and I mean bear aware as in being able to understand the surroundings. But we're so quick to hop to conclusions as adults, Grant. That's the point I wanted to make.
Yep, and that's a very good point. And you're very correct in that one.
Let's get to D. Cohen. Will it take a UFO to land on the White House lawn for Congress to tell the truth about aliens?
I think the timeline on that one's going to be a little different. I don't believe they're going to land on the White House lawn. I think the agenda when it comes to Congress and the government as a whole and whoever does know about all this, I think there's an understanding, and this is just my personal opinion. I don't believe that any extraterrestrial is just going to go and land right in the middle of us and say, hi, hey, my name's Steve. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're, like you were saying before, they got a call and you got a timeline. I believe that we do know that, somebody on this planet knows. And I believe they are trying to get us up to snuff and up to speed on it. But until we're at that point, I believe that whoever the extraterrestrials are, even if it's us from the future, I think they're very aware of the fact that it's probably not a wise choice just to land on the White House lawn, so to speak. Now, to second that, though, if it happened, I would be the first one jumping up and down in my living room screaming, I knew it.
Oh, very true. Very, very true. All right, let us move on here to another question. Dennis is asking, what do you think will be priority in regards to first interaction and learning from ETs?
Good question. In fact, I think the first interaction that we're going to have, unless they're super advanced enough to be able to just listen, and I'm not talking about explorers listening to our trash radio. I think if they're advanced enough to learn our language or know how to communicate first, that would be very, very beneficial to us. That way they can make us aware of their intent. And intent is a big deal. And language, that language barrier is also a big deal. And I've had conversations just recently about this. So the biggest priority in regards to the first interactions, obviously a security threat, we don't have any options. I mean, there's nothing that we can do against something that has this kind of technology. So if we want to take the high road and say, hey, they're not here to hurt us, I think being able to speak to them and have a conversation would be a very, very beneficial plan.
I'm going to look at it this way. I think the first priority is going to be to make sure that they are not here to take us out. Because if they do take us out, we're all in for a bad day. We are all in for a bad day. And I am looking at this and I'm saying, you know what? I don't know if they're going to be able to teach us any lessons right away, because the government is going to have to all of a sudden accept some things. Number one, we don't know everything. We don't have the technology capable of doing things. And these ETs, they may demand some things from us. They may. Like, how about stop killing each other? How about little things like you have hungry people and people who have dirty water in Flint, Michigan. How about we get people clean water? Here's how you do it with sustainable energy that is non-polluting. By the way, don't try and shoot those missiles at us because our toys are much bigger and stronger than yours. So you can play with us and be one with us, or, you know, we can do this the hard way. I think there's going to be a lot of eye-opening, a lot of butt-kissing, and a lot of fear.
Oh,
right?
agreed.
Mennonite Abe wants to know, Dave, do you think the Wilson documents are real? Camera 2.
I love that camera too, man. You just swapped over and I was like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, man. Camera 2. First time I've had 2 cameras going in the studio. But camera 2 goes to Mennonite Abe. Do you think the Wilson documents are real? Look, I don't know if they're real. I don't know if they aren't. But what I do know is that everybody I've talked to, see, here's my conundrum with the Wilson documents. That story was supposed to be broken on this show. And we got, lack of a better term, not to go into something, because I've forgiven the person who did this. All right. But we got screwed. So I purposely refused to do anything on the Wilson documents. Refused. Even hated it when it came up in conversation. Didn't want to know, don't care. You know, and that's one of those things. Look, there's a business side to what we do. And part of that business side is, look, don't screw me on a story when you promise me and my listeners a story. But we got screwed on it. So I'm not as familiar as to what is in the Wilson documents as I possibly should, because my own ego has not allowed me to. How's that for honesty? But I will say this. The people I talk to, they are very, very happy that these have been sworn in as evidence. Very, very happy that they've been sworn in. And if they're happy, I'm going to assume that I should be happy about this too. I really, really do believe that. What do you think, Grant?
So I ended up, because I'm not as up to date with the documents, I've heard many times about them. I literally just pulled it up, the actual documents. I'm looking at them right now, and some of the things I am reading in here, if you know, they sworn these in. This is some very interesting stuff, talking about UFO crash retrievals and entities within governments outside of it. Like, if this is real, that's your disclosure. I mean, that's an old disclosure, but nonetheless,
it's pretty heavy.
I'm looking at this, and it's actually giving me pause. And I think I got to quit looking at it because I'm gonna get stuck trying to read the whole thing while I'm talking to you. But yeah, no, I'm gonna actually do that here after a little bit. Once I get off the air, I'm gonna dig into that and then ask me again on another show, and I'll give you a good, honest answer for it.
Well, you know what? It's one of those things. We got about a minute to go here. The Wilson documents are very controversial, and it's very, very interesting that in this case that they got sworn in as evidence for the U.S. congressional hearings when they haven't been proven. They have not been proven. Okay, we are going on hearsay and conjecture regarding this topic. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Don't quote me on that. If they are true, we need to know. We absolutely need to know how true they are. But this is one of those things where, unless he gets immunity, Admiral Wilson is going to deny that this ever happened and that this conversation ever took place. When we come back in hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio, we're going to continue with your questions regarding UFOs today. Are we ready? Are we ready for mainstream UFO talk? That's what we're doing tonight. Host of After Hours, Grant Baker, is here. Should say co-host. We're going to get some more questions from you coming up in hour number 2 on Spaced Out Radio, UFO talk all night long. Let's have some fun tonight, shall we? So far, so good. All right, I am way behind in the chat room again by about 20 minutes here. Excuse me. I'm going to whip through the chat room, and if I have Elena, you're next on the question list. But if I haven't got to your question yet, please repost it when we come back, because I don't want to miss any of them. We're going to try and get them all in, guys. We're going to try. Hey, there's Lars Jansson from Luleå, Sweden, wearing number 14 in your program tonight. Welcome, Lars. And Jazz Ramblings, thanks for coming on in. Mr. Catfish, good to see you, my friend. And let's see here. Lots of questions in here. Holy cow. Guillermo, bonjour. How are you, my friend? Been a while. The Awesome Cat Chaser, always a pleasure to have you here. Truth Entertainment, keep up the funniness, man. Thank you. Let's see. Who else do we have? Blues in G, welcome back. That brings me to 941. Let's see here. I'm just going to start right from the beginning. Screw it. The Gorgeous Ren. How are you, Gorgeous Rin? Mystics Walk. Gina Ryan Bearfighter. How are you? Welcome to SOR Chat. The lovely Judy of Gaul. And let's see. Laura Sosa looking lovely tonight. Peter, Terry Brown. How you guys doing? Body Tech, good morning to you. And let's see here. Goth White, thanks for coming on in. Bill H, good to see you. Ralph G, welcome to SOR Chat. And well, hey, sometimes you got to be able to admit the ego. That's right. Let's see, who else is here? All right. Evan already misses the camera angle. Son of a gun, Ev. Here we go. There you go. Boom. There you go. You just change it like that. This is all new to me. I just figured this one out earlier today. So that's good. Black Dragon, Semper Fi to you, my friend. Hey, Terry Hall, good to have you here, buddy. And I'm going to just scroll back down. I'm just going to take a quick washroom break. I'll be right back. Grant, you say hello to everybody. You're watching the chat room.
Thank you for letting me know that I was just sitting there talking to myself for the last minute. That was awesome. And so you're awesome. Oh my goodness. That's funny. Okay, Chris Tyne. Let me tell you something. So Chris says Grant wants to be muted so that he can burp without us hearing. He says, just kidding. I've done that 3 times since this show started. I'm not even joking. So anytime you see me mute myself, it's either I'm coughing, and realistically, I drink. This is lime juice and soda stream. And so I drink a lot of these, and I literally hold the button down to get as much of that in there. So after every one of these, watch me mute my mic. Jazz Ramblings, good to see you. Right on. Evan Walters. One of these days I'll just do that and not mute it for you. How about that? Oh, that's so funny. Muting is good for all kinds of sounds. Yep. Cat Chaser, welcome to you as well. Thank you. Gina Ryan Bearfighter. Let me do this. I'm going to look like an idiot while I'm squinting my eyes. Oh, Oh, there's words. Hey, Black Dragon, how you doing? It's good seeing you. Mystics Walk. So back when I was probably 12, between 10 and 12, I could do it. A, B, C, all the way to Z with about 3 intakes of air. Indian tonic and lime. Good choice. Good choice.
So yeah, just slide right in now. I just don't have to go around and bump shit anymore.
Awesome?
By the way, thank you to everybody who's listening in that's in the Commonwealth. Happy Victoria Day. And to our veterans down south, happy Memorial Day to you guys. And special thank you to everything that you guys do. Do us a favor, repost your questions. I'm way behind in the chat room due to the way the chat is moving so fast tonight. But let's make this happen. Let's have some fun here. And it's all about you guys tonight. Whatever you're asking, Grant and I are here to answer your questions and hopefully provide a little bit of insight. Big thank you to Eddie, D. Cohen, and Smithy for the super chats tonight. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on each and every night here on the show. So thank you so much. And we're going to get going here. You will notice El Ovni Volador, t-shirts like that you can get at our website, spacedoutradio.com. We got a bunch of cool swag for you. Here we go, everyone.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you so much for tuning us on in. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Galoon. Galoon is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Yes, I see the messages coming in on the chat room tonight. Happy birthday, Dave. It's not my birthday for another hour and a bit here, at least on the West Coast, but thank you so much for the warmth and the love that you guys give us on a nightly basis. So thank you so much for the warm wishes. I very much appreciate it. Grantavius, the Grandmaster Grant, the mustache-wearing Grant Baker from After Hours here, where he's a co-host with our After Hours show that plays on our YouTube channel on the weekend. We're taking your questions. What is happening with UFOs and the mainstream today? And Grant, we're going to start off with Elena's question here. Thoughts about ultraterrestrials and frequency manipulation with laser technology to allow for transmedium and interdimensional travel. Holy cow.
Yep.
This is dropping the gloves on the entire subject right now.
The interdimensional, it's a travel device. The Caesar, I'm still trying to get into this one.
Laser.
It's the laser technology, but look up Caesar as well. So then I'm mistaking it.
Did I get that wrong? Oh, I did.
It should be a vibrational thing, or wait, man. See,
so let's learn here. Caesar technology is a device that emits concentrated, highly focused sound waves. The Caesar is the sonic equivalent of the laser and is often referred to as the sound laser or acoustic laser. Caesar beams concentrated sound in terahertz range. Oh my goodness. Where's Science Bob when you need him?
That's exactly it. This is one of those things where I'd love to dive into it. I just haven't had time recently. I have heard of this. unfortunately, I have no idea how it works yet to wrap my head around it to give an informative answer on this. And to be honest with you, I don't even know what we're using the technology for that's already been created. So it's one of those things where this is a very good question, and it's one I'm probably going to take a picture of so I can answer later as well.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. The word ultraterrestrials was first brought up one of the first times by a gentleman named Alan Greenfield in The Secret Cipher of the UFO Knots, a book that came out originally in 1994. And if you're in this subject, you really, really need to read Alan Greenfield's book. And we're going to try and get Alan on here very soon once again, because he is just an amazing, amazing work of knowledge when it comes to this. Look, and he believes that everything is ultra-terrestrial. It doesn't matter where you're coming from. Mm-hmm. The word ultra-terrestrial means aliens. It means from the future, from the past, from the inner earth, from other dimensions, and everything along those lines. So this is where the word ultra-terrestrial probably plays out a little bit better than extraterrestrial and everything that kind of plays along with it. The idea behind the technology, I apologize, I am not a scientist by any words of the means, and I really do not want to comment on something and sound like a fool, because I don't know what this is. If Science Bob was here, we could totally break this down. We totally could. But as far as interdimensional travel, there are many people who believe we already have that technology that we have received from reverse engineering extraterrestrial aircraft and wherever they are from, the future or wherever. There's a lot more to this. I mean, remember, it was Ben Rich, the former head of Lockheed Skunk Works, who in the early 90s stated, we already have the technology to get ET home again. And what we are seeing today is from what we have already made. What he's saying by that is they're 80 years into the future on what they are developing right now. So could there be interdimensional travel? Absolutely. I think it is happening. This also gets into, when you get into interdimensional travel, it also opens up the door to the secret space program, super soldiers, and it opens up the doors to a lot of strangeness. So that is what we are getting at. By the way, thank you to Dirty Filth for sending me a picture of his, vast amount of chest hair for my birthday. I appreciate that, Dirty Filth. Absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. Let us move on here as we continue on with the show. And I know there's a bunch of questions still out there that we haven't got to yet. I'm going to grab one here momentarily. Lawnmower Girl, how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? I don't know, but let me ask you this. If you know a woodchuck that would like to be hired for the fall so I could upsell and upstock my wood pile for the winter, I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you very much. I really would. All right. Another question from our audience here. And let me get to it here. For some reason, Mystics Walk wants to know, Grant, do you love to belch the alphabet? I don't think that's what do you think? Well, I'll let you answer that.
Yeah, when I was 12.
Exactly. All right, let's get to Brazelhoff here. Christoph wants to know, Grant, what are your thoughts on pilots of the 1890 skyships?
Oh, this is a good one. Not just the pilots, but the skyships themselves. Are you familiar with this, Dave? They
Yes.
were wooden ships. Like they were actually like UFOs shaped like wooden ships and stuff. And I'd be really interested to see what happens with this one. I think what is realistically going on here, and hear me out. Back in the 1890s, what did they have? What was the most common thing that they didn't have? Steel ships. They had wood ships. I think what is going on is they're presenting themselves on what we already know and can kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Relate to. Oh, happy early birthday, Dave.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Be Earth Day. That's
love
me.
Kira. She's awesome.
Kira is one of our listeners. She came to our Vegas party along with her husband, Mark. Two of the greatest people you could ever meet. Honestly, two of the greatest people you could ever meet. Pure love and energy with them. Pure love and energy. This is why it's important for people next year listening in to come to our Vegas party. This is why it's very important, is you get to meet and share the love of what we do on this show and hang out with us on a nightly basis. I want to say something about those ships, though, dude. I really do. Okay, the 1890 ships, even before that, people were literally reporting seeing wooden ships in the sky with oars moving them.
Yep.
My question is, and this is what makes me wonder about the phenomena, is why didn't they show them spaceships? Why are there no reports of spaceships? The discs, the triangles. Now, maybe they didn't know how to explain them back then because it would have been such a foreign concept. But why would the aliens show them actual looking like ships that should be in the water with oars rowing them through the air? This makes sense.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, it's one of those things where I've dived into that one just a little bit. And in fact, I heard it on another show with the other Grant. And for people that don't ask Grant Cameron, because that's where I first heard about it. And I was like, what in the world are they doing? Because there's so many times where there has been depictions of UFOs in rock and carvings that look like real UFOs. Leonardo da Vinci's painting with a UFO. They've been presenting themselves like that for years. And then you get wooden ships with people rowing them, and some of them have lights on them, if I remember correctly. It's been a little bit since I've read that, but it boggles my mind why they did that. I wanted to say just maybe it was the time they thought, oh, we don't want to scare these people, so we're going to show up like this. And I believe that when they talked to them, they said they were from Mars. I may be wrong on that one, but one of our local planets is where they said they came from. And that has changed over time too. All these have changed. The shape of the ships, what they're doing, how they react to people. Are they landing? Are they not anymore? It's one of those things that we're probably never going to know exactly what went on there.
And I agree with you on that. But it just amazes me that if they were seeing ships, why did it change? Why are we not seeing those ships today?
I have no idea.
Is it because we're used to seeing what we see in the air with airplanes and everything like that? We don't know. It's one of those little mysteries. Cat Chaser is asking, years ago it was said UFOs shut down U.S. and Russian nuclear missiles. Are we safe from North Korea, Russia, and Iran? I would say yes. Yes, not because the aliens are pro-American. Okay. I think it's because that from people who are experiencers who've really delved deep into this, if we can believe their words, they have stated that they have been told through channeling, through face-to-face contact and regression that the extraterrestrials will not allow a nuclear war here. They like us. They like this planet. We're still young, relatively young as a species, and we have a lot to learn. And they don't want to see us do something stupid. Therefore, it has been said, the way they were toying with it was kind of, that they were playing a game that day. But I don't think that they would allow it. I really don't. Maybe I'm being hopeful. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm just being too much imaginative and too much romance for the love of this planet. But that's my opinion. How about you, Grant?
I think the show of force with the nukes that they gave us, it wasn't really, and show of force is like, hey, we have the control of this. They've shut them down. They've turned them back on and shut them down again. Even when we have gotten the codes to get back in, turn them back online, they've done it multiple times in one instance. Within however long it takes in a night for these technicians to get them back running, they would get it running, they'd shut them down. There's been a lot of reports that I've heard over local media and what's going on in the world today that there's been UFOs that have been flying around kind of places like Chernobyl, checking it out, trying to see what's going on there within the last couple of months. You know, not radiation, but nuclear weapons is definitely something that we shouldn't really be toying with ourselves. And I think they're trying to tell us a message saying, hey, you know, you're not just affecting yourselves, you're affecting the whole earth, the people on it, possibly multiple dimensions, possibly throughout the universe. And I believe that they're trying to tell us that's exactly what you shouldn't be doing. Just like the kids that saw the UFO in the schoolyard. It's about don't be taking yourselves out.
Let's get into Evan. Have either of you ever seen a ghost?
You want to go first, or you want me to go first on this one,
You
bud?
go first.
All right.
On this one.
Okay. So the actual physical ghost, I've seen shadow people. I don't know if there's a difference between shadow people and ghosts or the shimmering person and ghost. I've had many ghost experiences around me where they have moved things. They have strummed my guitar that was in a closet. They've opened doors, shut doors on me. The one that opened and shut the door was in broad daylight. There was one of my good friends was there. I did not see the actual ghost itself during the daylight, but I did see the action it took by opening the door fully and shutting it fully to the point where it clicks closed. The thing is I believe that there's something going on there. I have seen the shimmering beings, the shadow people. I've seen them as close to me within a foot. I mean, face to face. I've rolled over and there they were. So yes, I've seen ghosts.
I have seen numerous ghosts, and everyone in my family has too. SOR headquarters, very haunted.
Really?
Very haunted. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's I will mention one ghost story here. And it is absolutely incredible. During a lot of times what'll happen is during the show I'll step away and I'll take my dogs outside for a pee, or I'll go take a break or whatever. So I go outside during the break and it's just me and I'm staring up at the stars because the northern lights are supposed to be out that night.
Mm.
And it's just not dark enough. And I have this tree right by, so if you exit my downstairs door, so for people who don't know, I actually have my radio studio in my home. And I will walk through and I'll go to the back door, which opens up into my carport. And then if I hang a quick left, it goes right into my backyard. Well, about 15 feet away, 20 feet away, I have this tree standing there, a fir tree. And right in front of that fir tree, there is a gentleman standing there, white t-shirt, those light blue jeans that people used to wear in like the 70s and 80s, and white shoes. And I'm staring at him and I watch him vanish right in front of me. So I did what any man would do. I screamed, right? Because I was startled by that. Happened to have a psychic on that night who connects with him. His name is Richard, goes by Rick. And she says, do you have an extension on your home? She's in New York. Never been to the studio before. I said, yes. She's like, he just told me that because he can't find his wood area where he used to work on wood. So now I made him a deal. I asked him if he wanted to cross over. He said no. I said, I'll make you a deal. You keep the bears out of my yard and the cougars out of my yard, and we'll be fine. His response was, you know where you live, right? Through the psychic. And I said, yes, but I also have a young boy that I don't want taking his bear food or cougar food. To this day, only once, and that happened last summer, I've had a bear come in my yard and knock my garbage cans over. I leave my garbage cans filled to the brim until garbage day outside. And there are bears walking all over this area. Like right now, there could be a bear in my yard. Wouldn't know. Right? But only once has my stuff been knocked over. He's held his end of the bargain. It's very cool. Peter is asking, Have you seen the footage of a city in the clouds? It was an optical distortion, but wild to see. I have seen that.
Mm-hmm.
It's very weird. And if you want to see it, go on YouTube. Just type in "city in the clouds." I don't know if that's optical distortion or somebody who's really creative with CGI, but it is phenomenal. What's your thoughts on that?
That's actually something that was way back when too. That's been a while since I've heard about that, and I've seen the videos, or not the video, but the still frames, and it's pretty majestic looking. I remember that. It's like a holy city in the sky with cathedrals and huge. I mean, it is epic looking. I've heard different stories about people saying that was kind of a look in another dimension. Well, I don't know who you are, but if that's a look in another dimension, I want to go check that place out. Whether it's real or not, I don't know. Some people say it was an optical illusion. I wasn't there. If it was real, I would definitely wish I would have seen it.
Me too. Me too. All right, let's go to Jareen, first-time listener in our chat room. Hello, Jareen. In 2019, I had a black see-through screen with white binary code appear in front of my face. I didn't write the code down. Have you ever heard of this happening before? I have.
Really?
I have. Now, a lot of experiencers claim to get binary code when they are having downloads from extraterrestrials. Dun, dun, dun. Downloads from extraterrestrials as it goes. And a lot of them, because the majority of us are not schooled in binary code. We're not. I have no clue what it is. All right. I'm like the majority of people. It's a bunch of ones and zeros, and how you translate that, I have no friggin' clue. But I will say this, a lot of experiencers have had that happen. So you're not alone as we move forward here on the show. And it happens. Dun, dun, dun. New camera angle right there. I'm not gonna lie. I'm loving this. Guillermo, good French-Canadian kid right there. In the Bible, ETs are described as like the Son of Man in spaceships, like column of cloud by the day and column of fire by the night.
Mm-hmm.
This is true. But it all depends on who is deciphering the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Because many scholars, many religious people, many reverends and priests and pastors and everything, they all have their own translation to what the Bible says. What do you think, Grant?
Oh, I love it that he brought this up. And when I was, I went to church, my family are God-fearing people, and we would read the King James Version. When I got to Ezekiel, and I listened to Ezekiel 1, and all you got to do is, anybody that has any kind of Bible, just go to Ezekiel 1 and read exactly what he comes across and what comes to him, and the sounds of 1,000 rushing waters. So you have column of cloud by day and a column of fire by night. Well, when you have Ezekiel saying there's 4 wings, 4 heads, 4 wheels, and when it looks this way, it turns that way, and it lands in front of him, and an angel gets out, and on the robes of the angel there's a little like fire. Well, you've never seen an LED light. Those were probably lights of some sort. The sounds of 1,000 rushing waters is rocket engines. I love how close extraterrestrials get when coming to religious things, especially with the Bible. It just blows me away. And you don't even have to read through the lines or between the lines. It's right there in black and white. I love it.
Me too, man. Me too. We have about 20 seconds here before we got to go to break. At the bottom of the hour, show is flying on by. We are taking audience questions right to the top of the hour. And Grant Baker from After Hours, one of the co-hosts of our YouTube After Hours show, hanging on out with us, impressing us with his very stylish lip blade that he calls a mustache. We're very glad to have him here as well. Great questions, by the way, from our audience tonight. Thank you so much for participating with us. We will get to many more questions as we come back from the mighty SOR in hour 3 at the top of the hour. Of course, lots more happening on Spaced Out Radio. There we go.
Right.
Let's see here.
Why do aliens prefer mozzarella sticks or onion rings?
I gotta catch up in the chat room again. I'm way behind it. Hot damn. 212 people watching us right now. Nice.
Wow.
Yeah. Hi, gorgeous Gloria. How you doing? If you're watching along and you haven't said hello in the chat room, come by and say hello. Hello there, gorgeous Marie. How are you? GPG Space Cadet, welcome back. And who else is joining us here?
You mind if I go use the restroom real quick? How long do we have?
Go ahead. We got like 4 minutes.
All right. I'll be right back.
Sweet Tony D, good morning to you in the UK. Ihez, welcome back. Lunar Sparkles, a.k.a. Tina, how are you? Let's see here. Who else is here? Wait, Dave's background is different. Yes, Dave upgraded the background. Got some dirty filth art up here. Right behind me. The on-air sign. My favorite deck of tarot. That right there is my bottle of Night Train from the Guns N' Roses song Night Train. I have hold on. You can see my orb right there in my Spaced Out Radio toque. I got a gnome in a cage. Oh, there's the radio gnome. And then right here is my jailed gnome. There's my Carl candles with a shark in between them and a gnome behind them. This is Dirty Filth's art of a sports model. This was a present to me for my first night on the air. It's called Dark Matter Beer. This is an actual can of what do they call that? Like it's like a Red Bull, except it's made straight for the Playboy Mansion. So my friend who was there brought me home a can of that. And then this here is my part of my bookshelf, as you can see up here. Sorry, right. Where the hell am I going? Right there. And then this right here is my Butch Witkowski piece of art from Dirty Filth. That says, "Catch you later, Dave." Right there. So that's what that is. On this side, we have, hold on, let me switch cameras here. Okay. So now I got to go this way. So there's my Bigfoot t-shirt. There's my favorite Guns N' Roses concert shirt right there. This here, right here, is, well, that's a sticker that fell down of Area 51. And that's my Guns N' Roses headband. And along here is my hot sauce bottle collection. So that's what I got there. Yeah, Grant tried to act all tough with his hot sauce bottle collection the other day. And I'm going to be honest with you, I spanked him silly on it.
Let me just tell everybody something here about Dave's hot sauce. So I was pretty proud because the fortunate thing about me and hot sauce is I eat it too quickly. And Dave has an epic collection of hot sauce. And I mean, I probably got 15 bottles. That is nothing compared to what Dave has. And the funny thing is I wanted to be a little flip about it and be like, Dave, when you get hot sauce, you're supposed to eat it, bud.
I had homemade soft tacos tonight.
Oh,
I was mixing hot sauce together.
Oh, yeah.
Mixing. Yeah. Oh, it was beautiful.
Oh,
it was beautiful.
I got a surprise for you coming. You just wait, bud.
Yeah.
I might buy 2 of them, as insanely expensive as it is, just so we can be on a video chat and try it together.
We will YouTube it.
That'd be
we
awesome.
Will YouTube it. Yes. All right, let me get back to the original camera angle here.
Yeah.
There we go. All right, let's quickly say hello to Mark Sanchez and to the gorgeous Jean Beckett. Bama, boom to you, the gorgeous one. And who else is here? We got like 15 seconds. Michael Fontaine, thanks for joining us. Leith, welcome to SOR Chat. Thank you for joining us. And do me a favor, everyone. Put your questions in capital letters so we can get to them, okay? Past the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate turning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone tuning us in wherever you are. Reminder to you that you can check out all of our archives for free, including this show tonight once it goes to archive at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with your questions. UFOs in the mainstream. Are you buying it? Are you not? Grant Baker, one of our co-hosts from After Hours, is here with us tonight talking about this. How you doing, Grant?
Doing pretty good, man. I'm enjoying this show. This is absolutely awesome. I love the flow of it and the fact that we have the audience in the chat rooms involved through the whole show. This is a pretty standout one for me. I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. We're having a lot of fun here with everybody here going on tonight. SP903, new to our chat room. Aliens didn't stop Hiroshima or Nagasaki, nor the hundreds of thousands of nuclear tests, detonations up until now, so why would they stop anything? Well, from what I have learned, and look, I'm not saying this is true or not. I'm just going by what I was told, so don't bank on this. The people who have had connection since we came into the nuclear age have basically stated that the extraterrestrials do not want to see a nuclear showdown here. It's okay to have the toys, but to use the toys is a different thing. Now, you got to realize every time one of those bombs went off, it sent mega signals into space. You know, that explosion, that sound is still traveling. You know, it's 50 or make that 70 years into space right now. So it's probably about to hang a left over Albuquerque, you know, somewhere up there. But nonetheless, that's just what I've heard. I'm not saying it's true. Don't quote me on it. But people who have channeled this do believe that that's the way it's gone down. Let's go to Tony in the United Kingdom. Good morning to you, Tony. Hey, Dave, what's your thoughts about Lou Elizondo being advisor on UAP for the space agency? Oh, let me tell you, Dave has words about this. We knew Elizondo was a government contracted employee. Okay, we knew that it was going to be something with UFOs. And the fact that now the space agency, aka the United States Space Force, has hired Elizondo as a consultant regarding this shouldn't be a shock to anybody. What is really cool about this is we are now learning that the United States Space Force is looking into extraterrestrials and UFOs. Should we be any surprised by this? People, we were saying this when Donald Trump, as president, love him or hate him, set up the Space Force. Who is the enemy they were going after? Right? This wasn't about satellite fighting. The Air Force and the Navy were already taking care of that. They didn't need another Space Force for it. Look, I've believed since the beginning, and I may be way too loo and woo, get that? Loo and woo about this, But I have maintained since the beginning that the Space Force was all about ET contact and all about extraterrestrials. Had nothing to do with satellites or, as Ted Cruz put it, space pirates. Remember that? Who the hell are space pirates? Are the Iranians all of a sudden going to take one of those wooden boats that you're going to row in the sky that they were seeing in the 1600s and the 1800s and all of a sudden go up into space? Hey, let's go play with and smack our oars against some satellites here. No, that's not happening, right? I have stated from the beginning, and I still believe this, and I don't think I'm wrong, that Space Force was all about UAP and potential extra or ultra-terrestrials. How about you, Grant?
Yeah, when it comes to the Lou Elizondo, the Space Force, the space agency, when they actually made the space agency, I was, excuse me, I was really surprised. And this is what we're doing. I was like, okay. So where do I join? I would like to be a part of that. Can I sign up? I know I'm probably a little too old, but I can run. I can float in space and meet this stuff. When it comes to why they built it, I have a feeling that we were going to be told something happened in the government and they decided not to give us the whole truth. I was really hoping that one person in particular was going to just let out the juice on it, and it never came around. Whatever it's going to be, hopefully they're doing the right or making the right choices and doing the right things. If it's contact with aliens, that's great. That's perfect, because at the same time, they're getting some jobs done, trying to filter it down and get us ready for what we're ready for or what we're not ready for. As for Lou Elizondo being an advisor on the UAP for the space agency, heck yeah, dude. Why not? Like, I would love it. I'm on the Lou Wu train, so to speak. I love the guy. He's got a nice place in my heart.
Mm-hmm. Now, behind me in studio for our radio audience, I've reset up the audience, and there's a picture of El Ovni Volador on a T-shirt. Okay, and Elena, who's new in the chat room, she's like, "Is that a luchador shirt?" That is awesome. That's not just a luchador shirt. That is El Ovni Volador, a.k.a. the flying UFO. Okay, the guy is a jerk who is El Ovni Volador. I've met him a few times. Him and I have gone back to back and scrapped a few times, here in the studio and outside the studio. Okay, he's not a nice man. He's rude to the audience. He's rude to the guests. He's definitely rude to me. All right, but you know what? He put his own shirt up on the store. It's a hot seller, so you just got to go to spacedoutradio.com and check it on out. Get your El Ovni Volador shirt. Guy's just an idiot. Can't stand him.
Oh, I heard he kicked you off the air once and took over the show for a while.
Kicked me off the air a few times. You know what? I'll tell you how I kept him out of Las Vegas. Okay, I will tell you how. Because he was going. I had rumors that he was going to Vegas. I actually had to call the police in Vegas to say, look, this El Ovni Volador idiot, he's a stalker of mine. He's somebody, at any time he could walk behind you and hit you with a steel chair or a foreign object. I don't want this guy here. I don't want the guy here. Right? And thankfully, they accepted it. And that's how he didn't show up in Vegas.
It would have been epic to see him meet Superman, though.
It would have been cool, wouldn't it? All right, let's get to Gloria's question. Will Mr. Luis Elizondo come over and give us the inside scoop of what's happening? Gloria, I think he has given us the inside scoop the entire time. But nobody has caught on. Not a soul has caught on to what he is doing or what he is saying. And this is why I tell people, go back and listen to the interviews he has done. It's filled with Easter eggs.
Mhm.
The people who criticize Lou Elizondo, and look, Elizondo deserves criticism just like everybody does. I deserve criticism for my show. Grant deserves criticism for his show. Everybody deserves a critique, whether you like it or not. And if you don't like it, tell us why. Elizondo is not above criticism. He knows that. But he also has to protect himself and his family by the commitment that he made by signing the non-disclosure agreements. But if you listen and read between the lines of what he is saying, there is a plethora of information there. A ton of information. The problem is we have been too lazy as a society, myself included, to go through every interview that he has ever done and wash it and make those words in between the lines come to fruition.
Exactly. I couldn't have said that better. And I'm going to say one more thing. I think somebody out there, I don't know if anybody's on it yet, needs to make a library of every single YouTube podcast, anything that he's ever been on in chronological order, and get that out there. That'd be great. It'd be really long, but that would be something I would binge watch and listen to.
Right. So let us see here. And as we move forward, I'm having fun with this tonight. We may have to continue it.
Yeah.
We may have to continue it right through, and maybe John will join us, maybe not. But let's just push the envelope here a little further. Okay? Should people be surprised that Luis Elizondo is a government contractor?
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I wasn't surprised. Realistically, a lot of the whistleblowers that are out there, and I'm not saying he's fully a whistleblower, but a lot of them out there are from the government. I mean, that's where the information is going to come from. He's a spook, but at the same time, you just watch his body language, and every time I've watched him, I get that idea. It's like, this guy, yes, he has the NDAs, but he has had an experience. I would almost stake my life on it, if not one, but many. And so coming out of that type of field, it doesn't surprise me at all.
Very true. Very true. I'm not surprised he's a government contractor. Number one, I've known for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But the guy, you know what? What we forget about Elizondo is because he is so popular, we forget that he's not a rich man.
Mm-mm.
He's not somebody with millions in the bank that he could go around and play UFOs. This is a guy who still has a mortgage to pay, still probably has car payments. Maybe he has some tuition for his daughters to pay off because they went to college, and he's an honorable dad because that's what us dads do. All right. Maybe he has a retirement savings that he wants to add into besides his, government pension that he will get. All right. There's a lot going on in this. And sure, he may be making good money as a contractor. Most contractors are making six figures, not high six figures, but low six figures. Okay, that 100,000 to 400,000 mark, whatever it may be. But that's why they get into that, for the money. And I have no problem with the guy having a paycheck, putting a few bucks in his bank account, maybe, taking the aliens out for lunch, whatever it may be. Imagine, though, hey, we don't know his look, there was a documentary that went into his financial situation. All right. I didn't pay much attention to that part. All right. Maybe I should go back and rewatch it and pay attention. But you know what? For many of us out there, we still need to work. Look at me, man. Look at you, Grant.
Yep.
Right? We still have daytime jobs. Sure we are, moonlighting as radio show hosts, but we are still literally having to work to pay the bills. And in this economy right now, it's tough to pay the bills for many of us. But we got to keep pushing, got to keep pressing. And Elizondo is just as human as all of us. He doesn't have that NFL contract. He doesn't get paid, $25 million a year like a Major League Baseball pitcher. We're chasing UFOs. And there's not a lot of people signing paychecks to chase UFOs except the U.S. government, from what we know. Yep. So I have no issue with him grabbing a paycheck off of this. I really, really don't. How about you, Grant?
Couldn't agree more. I mean, that was beautifully said. He is just a man, and that's one of the reasons why I like him so much. Going back in and doing his thing, yeah, he needs to make money. I mean, we all got to do it, like you're saying. It's not a one-person economy anymore. It takes two, and if he's doing it by himself, then he's got extra work on his shoulders that he's got to take care of. Yeah, he's going in the right direction, and I think he's doing what he knows how to do best. He's going to take care of his family, number one. And number two, he's going to continue being who he is behind the scenes with what he loves to do. He's pushing it for a reason because he believes in it. And with that belief, he's going to help us out the greatest in however he sees fit. And I'm happy to watch it.
Well, I'm exactly interested in watching it fold out too. Look, if he is working for Space Force, mm-hmm. which it sounds like he is, and he is someone who can now focus that information. Imagine how much more privy he'll be to information now on the other side. How much more does his contract allow him as a private citizen hired under contract to talk about it? There may be loopholes he can get around. There just may be. Yep. I don't know. I'm hopeful, but I don't know.
There's also the interesting fact that he got back in there. If they're trying to disavow or trying to hide your emails and do all this other stuff to say, no, it was very telling what happened to him. And he had to get a lawyer and go and fight them on it. And then after all the hubbub and humdrum, look where he's at now. And that's very telling as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, what's being cooked in the microwave right now?
I don't know.
Is that a hot tea? Maybe some biscuits? A scone, maybe?
If I told you the truth of what it was, I believe it's salt water, and my wife just got a new nose ring, and she has to clean it, and it is salt water that she warmed up so she could put the little Q-tip in and clean up. And she just gave me the thumbs up.
Nice. Very, very nice. Alien Critter says, I know Dave dislikes the counterintelligence argument, but Lou's job was counterintelligence. How can anyone believe someone that attempts to change and control the narrative? Look, this is a good question. This is a very good question because since the start of To the Stars Academy, I have been one of the first people to say, don't buy the narrative, follow the narrative that has been laid out. The narrative was complete media control of this subject. That is very truthful. That started with Carrie DeLong, Tom DeLong's sister, who was being paid over $100,000 a year to not return messages of the media. Okay. And I'm not just talking mainstream. I'm talking, we put in alone 15 different requests to the Stars Academy, and all 15 were denied, including one where they asked us for questions. All right. This whole narrative started with the TTSA. This is why, outside of very few people, we were the first ones, and you can go back in history and listen to our tapes from October of 2017. We were the first ones to say, why is anybody accepting a pressless press conference? I know other people have brought that up and have now jumped on that bandwagon, and good for them for doing it. Good for them for doing it, but that's the truth. That's where my red flag started with the narrative. Because here's the thing. You control the media, you control the message. And that's why we got 3.5 years of Russia-China drones, Russia-China aerial threat phenomena. This is why we got that. Because the U.S. government couldn't come out and say, we know it's alien. They couldn't come out and say that. They needed, in their opinion, to break it down slowly. Look, I'm not saying that we should discount Elizondo being counterintelligence. I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying is we need to read between the lines of what he is saying to figure out what is real and what isn't. And he has dropped a number of Easter eggs out there to give us enough clues of the realities of what's happening. He can't come out and admit, due to his NDAs, what is going on. Okay? It's like an NHL player or an NFL player detailing what are the specifics of their contract. They can't come out and tell you that they're not allowed to water ski, go bowling. Okay? They're not allowed because their contract could be null and void. It's the same thing with Elizondo, except his, how can we put this? His ass could end up in jail if he breaks the NDA. His financial status could be ruined, same as his family's. Okay, I'm not trying to hide behind or pin Elizondo behind his NDA, but that's the reality to it. And this is what frustrates people. Yes, he is counter intel. Yes, there is a game being played. Yes, he could be playing the entire UFO field. Not as bad as some of his critics are saying that he is. But I could tell you from talking to people within his community that I have got to know personally, they admit to me that he is being as stand-up as possible with this. You don't have to believe it. I don't have to believe it. But that's the word on the street that I'm getting from people that are very reputable in this community. Now, it's easy to say, well, if they're friends of Elizondo, how can you trust their word? Well, then we keep going down the rabbit hole. I have never, ever said anything that we shouldn't ask him questions. I have always said on this show that Elizondo needs to answer some tough questions. He does need to answer a lot about the NDAs. When we have interviewed him, we have tried to bring more of a personal aspect out of him. You go back to our first interview, 26 minutes in to the show of our first interview with him back in February of last year. We pretty much got him talking about extraterrestrials and whether or not he's seen one. Has Lou the human, Lou the person, not the intel guy, ever seen gray aliens? And he laughs and he says, Lou the person has seen some very interesting things. We know what he's talking about because that's the subject matter of the question. Now people will say, he didn't answer that question. Sure he did. Read between the lines. I wasn't asking him if he's ever sailed a boat in the Bay of Fundy. Right? I was asking him, have you seen that? And he answered, yes, I've seen some interesting things. That's all you need. That is reading between the lines, people. That is what I get at about reading between the lines. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's difficult. You may not want to agree with me, and that is okay. But he is, and the truthful right, he was counterintelligence. And we do have to hold that as a grain of salt to everything that happened. Elizondo pretty much explained what happened in Roswell on the UFO Garage. Yep. And we'll get into that in the next hour. Grant Tavius, are you going to stick around? Yeah, he's going to stick around. The Lip Blade's going to stick around. We're going to hopefully get the fedora-wearing Jon Hudson in here as well. If he wants to hang on out. We're going to go for it next. Hour 3 of Spaced Out Radio next. I love that question. Alien Critter, I'm not saying you're wrong. And I hope you don't take it that way. I'm not saying you're wrong at all. I think you're very right in being cautious with everything. I do agree. I do agree with you on that. We do need to be cautious. We've had the wool pulled over our head for decades with government officials speaking out of both sides of their asses.
Yeah.
Okay, we've had that. You're absolutely right. But we have to be able to read between the lines and see what he's truly trying to say. Okay.
You know, if you
talk
watch
about that, I'm just gonna step away for a minute.
all right, yeah. If you watch a lot of the shows that Elizondo's on and how he answers his questions, it is very, very telling. You can watch his body language. You can watch how he answers them. He'll even say no and look him or whoever he's talking to straight in the eye and just kind of nod. There's a bunch of little cues that you can pick up. Oh, Donnie Cho, thank you so much, man. It's awesome to see you on here. I appreciate you. Rock on, my brother. And anyways, no, when it comes to Lou, where he comes from, the background he came from, that's not what I was watching. I heard the hubbub, I heard all that. But when it came to Lou, I just watched the man, the presence. I watched his body language, and I'm pretty good at reading people. And I know that he has the NDAs. I know that he's seen things, and he is still a patriot. He's not going to go. He's not a liar as well, as far as I know. I know some of the people that know him as well, or one person that knows him. And realistically, he's just a man. And I don't think he's trying to pull the wool over somebody's eyes or all of our eyes. I think he's just somebody that wants to push the narrative and get us a little closer to the truth. And how he has to do that is how he has to do it. Oh, hey, World Bigfoot Radio. What's up, Duke? It's good seeing you, my man. Look at that. Everybody, Duke. Well, Alien Critter, you are ready for the truth just as well as I am. Everybody in this chat room or anybody that's read books or is interested in UFOs are ready for the truth. I do understand the term that the world is ready for it. There's going to be definitely people that need to be ready for it, whether they like it or not. And I understand that 100%. The deal with it's not even the deal. The problem is you're going to get a lot of those people that are just going to be 100% dramatic and over the top about all this. There's going to be pandemonium. I agree with you. What I think should really honestly happen is not drop it like a bombshell, but hurry up with the drips. Start opening the faucet a little faster, and let's just start getting this ball rolling, because the only way then people are going to be able to handle it is if you just give it to them and not in small drips. And let them get used to it, because change is hard, but you get used to it. We adapt. Let's see what else we got here. And Steve Wolf, thank you so much for the sentiments on my brother. I appreciate you, man. Oh man, I don't want to answer all these questions while we're not on the air. Oh, Christine, I can answer those. The most recent one that I've seen was literally last. Ooh, I got a bunch of feedback. And those right. Time to rip that Band-Aid off.
All right. All right. I love the fact that Alien Critter called me out on that. No, I think it's great. I think it's absolutely great. Donnie Cho, how are you? Noodles, how you doing, buddy? The gorgeous Larry, what's happening? Is Fedora coming in?
Oh, let me. I don't know. I don't see him in there yet.
We got Swamp Dweller coming up here.
Oh, perfect. What's with the gurgling sound? Was there a gurgling sound that I didn't know that happened on my end? Han Solo is the first space pirate.
We got 30 seconds.
Oh, I had some feedback.
Oh, okay. All right, here we go.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go, the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Galoon. Galoon is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bubblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is time once again where we head to the swamp. Our resident swamp dweller takes us on another spooky journey.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp. I live in the foothills of western North Carolina, near the base of the Blue Ridge Mountains. I used to live higher up in the mountains for a few years and hated it. So I wouldn't say I liked the woods with a burning passion, but yet I don't hate them, I guess. Recently I've moved back in with my folks in their cabin surrounded by the woods. The land my family owns stretches across 15 acres of woodland. Now, these are the woods I grew up in. Despite my typical aversion to nature, I feel safe in them. I climbed the trees, splashed in the creek, and played with stick swords when I was a kid. These woods are home to me, except for the area behind the backyard. Our cabin is on a steep hill that slopes down for about a half a mile. Eventually, it bottoms out on a creek down in the woods. The halfway point between the house and the stream is a little patch of woods, right behind the fenced-in area around the house. It's always in the shade, with no thick undergrowth, just trees, Carolina red clay, piles of leaves, the usual. But it feels bizarre down there in a way that I cannot explain. I feel very unwelcome, out behind the house for some reason. And I'm not the only one. My parents avoid it too. Even our pets, past and present, have always steered clear of it. So I will list some experiences that might get my point across better. The first experience was when I was about 8 or 9 years old, and one summer I thought I'd try camping in the backyard. So I set up my family's new tent and loaded it up with an air mattress and a pile of blankets, Copper, my beloved dear Stuffy, and some comic books. I wanted to be excited about it, but I felt uneasy even before the sun went down when my mom was helping me set up my little camping trip. The shady patch of woods around the backyard was just weird, but I was a kid, so I figured, F it, I'm 20 feet from the house, I'll be fine. I got set up for the night, stayed up reading comics, and felt like an outdoorsman, and it had barely gotten dark when I began hearing loud, rhythmic crunching in the woods. Behind the backyard, not too far from where I was, like something big was walking in circles around the undergrowth. We don't have bears in my neck of the wood. Besides, whatever it was walking on 2 legs. It never tried to approach the backyard, even as I sat there with Copper just listening to it. It just kept walking. I barely lasted an hour in that damn tent before running inside and getting into my bed. The second one is a little interesting. My mom's an avid gardener and decided she would put together 4 or 5 raised gardening beds in the backyard for herbs and veggies. This was when I was 11, so naturally I was roped into helping. We spent the first part of the day putting them together and getting them started. Then I noticed that we would get edgy and irritable back there. We're best friends and never fight, but we'd be snapping at each other constantly raising that damn garden. I also noticed that the backwoods behind our house were deathly quiet for the first time. Playing music or talking didn't make a difference. It was like that kind of silence that pressed in on you, and it's always just exactly the same back there. The beds thrived for a little while, but my mom always asked me to come with her when she tended to them. I thought it was silly at the time. She told me that she couldn't be down there by herself when I got older. She'd always wait until I was home from school before checking on them because she felt uneasy and unwelcome. Eventually, we would just abandon the project altogether. The raised beds are still down there, by the way, just rotting away in the undergrowth. Since middle school, I haven't checked on them, and I'm 23 now. This last experience I will share, in my opinion, is the creepiest. The time I asked my mom to cut my hair, we were poorer then, so Mom just gave me a nice, twice-monthly trim rather than go to a salon. It was late spring and warm, so she suggested that we cut it in the backyard for an easier cleanup. Was I maybe 13 or 14 at this point? I don't really remember correctly, so I'm just going to go with either 13 or 14. So we ventured down. I brought a stool and diligently sat while she cut my hair. Side note, my mom has always cut my hair, so she is very good at it, and she doesn't make mistakes. This is important. As she worked and we talked, I noticed an old familiar feeling of unease. We were not welcome back there. The trees that stood still and shadowy despite the brilliant sunny day just sucked all of the energy away. Remember that it felt cold, very cold. My mom finished up my haircut and I shook off the extra debris to let her admire her handiwork. She stepped around in front of me, angled my head this way and that, and said it looked good. 3 things happened in rapid succession. First, I felt this squeeze of pressure on my lungs like I couldn't breathe. It was such a weird sensation that I froze. All of the uneasiness of the atmosphere pressed in on me all at once. Second, my mom got this odd, vacant look on her face. I remember her smile fading and her eyes going a little glassy like she was lost in thought. And then she reached out with the scissors, still making this blank expression, and snipped a deep cut into the skin right above my eye. I freaked out, screaming. I jumped off the stool and backed away. At the same time, she seemed to gather herself again, and she was almost in tears. She repeatedly apologized, not even bothering to take anything with us as we ran back to the house to treat the cut and stop the bleeding. I still have a little scar there, and she's never forgiven herself for it. There wasn't even any hair hanging over my eye either. I had a pixie cut at the time. So yeah, these are a few weird experiences that make me avoid the backyard now. I haven't even been down there in 7 or 8 years, but now that I'm living here again, I sometimes investigate the backyard and feel that weird shudder of apprehension. What's the deal? Why don't we feel welcome in the 50 square foot patch of land we own? Why is it so dark and quiet in this one spot? I have no idea, but my parents and I work around it and pretend that it's not there.
We love it when Swamp Dweller comes on in for another weird, strange story. That's why we bring him in each and every night here on Spaced Out Radio. You can go support the Swamp Dweller at youtube.com/Swamp Dweller Reads. He's got thousands of stories coming at you on a nightly basis. So it is that time once again where we bring in the fedora-wearing Jon Hudson for the unbiased UFO report.
Nobody's gonna know.
They're gonna know.
And here we go with the veteran Swamp Dweller. Going right into the veteran fedora-wearing Jon Hudson. Of course, Grant Baker is still with us. Fedora John, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, Dave. How about you, man?
I'm doing great. I love how you have tucked the microphone underneath your shirt.
You know, actually, I didn't even know if it would work right. The only reason why I did it wasn't actually for my comfort. I don't really care about that. It's because the cable kept tickling Maui's ear. And he was going to actually get off my lap. So basically, that was the only reason why I did it. I don't mind holding it. It doesn't bother me at all. Doing good. It's I mean, the times right now are just, it's actually a lot of fun seeing, I think we're getting more different perspectives of the events than we normally get. You know, I think that we're getting more variety of opinions and so forth, which, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean you're any more likely to get the right answer, but you know, it does make for a more open-minded, more fruitful discussion, I think. I mean, I want to say this with all due respect. I even found myself like getting excited listening to Steve Bassett today, and like agreeing with him, and I was like, wow, how'd that happen, right? But he was actually being really reasonable, and he was actually saying really like smart things. And it's like, wow, this is great. This is like, you know, it's actually like bringing out some good in some folks. It's nice.
What's your opinion, John, on the fact that it has been leaked that Lou Elizondo has been contractually working for the United States Space Force?
I'm still trying to figure out what Sheen's angle is, because Sheen's the one that released it, and Sheen wouldn't do it just for an outside effort. In my opinion, he would only do it if it was actually strategically tied to the case he's working on, and so that's what I haven't figured out yet. It's too soon, but outside of the motivation, I think it's one of those things where it's kind of like well, thank the gods. I mean, like, you know, like, give me a break. Like, I mean, okay, there's probably, you know, 5 or so people that could do that job, but like, I can't think of anyone who'd be tremendously better than that. And you know, you figure Space Force in space, you know, probably want to have some involvement in, you know, I can't remember the name. It's so funny too. AIMSOG, you know, and so, you know, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that, you know, to me, it was kind of like one of those things where it was like a no dub, but I understand why it's causing so much excitement and interest, because it does basically lay down a more solid path for what Elizondo's been doing. And there's still been so much confusion about what Lou's been doing. You know, I mean, even among people that, you know, that tend to agree, like it was really interesting hearing you talk earlier about some of the things, and, you know, there's still things that you and I are far apart on, not significant things, but just interesting things to me, like the fact that, like, you know, you seem to consider news, and you're not alone, a lot of people did, that, that there was some confirmation that Lou was a government contractor. And I have trouble with that information because to me, the definition of a government contractor is different than I think what other people's definition of a government contractor is. And as far as I understand it, even if you're contracting through another party, you can still be called a government contractor. And whether you're contracting directly with the Pentagon, you're actually getting your paycheck and your tickets are being held by the Pentagon versus your tickets and your paycheck being handled by a subcontractor, right? Functionally to you, it's not much different, probably easier to do the subcontract, might get paid better. But the thing is that kind of, whether it's one step of variation or not, I don't know. Like to me, that doesn't matter. To other people, it does. And so that's the other challenge, is that a lot of the different interpretations are coming from the fact that different people put different weight on different data points. And so, I think that, ultimately, when you get down to it, one thing I really liked that Bassett said, and I know Elizondo has said something similar, is that people need to stop thinking about this as any sort of an event. This was a warm up. This was the beginning. This wasn't the end. And so I think a lot of people I think it's just gonna be really interesting to see how some of this stuff rolls out. I mean, you can go on so many different points and talk about different things that happened, like in the hearing, for example. Or it's honestly, I'm not really sure we've had a more like enthralling time period that I can remember.
All right, let's get Grant in here. What do you think? Is it news, or should it be news, that Elizondo has been affirmed as a government contractor working for Space Force?
I just find it very interesting that that's what he went for, based on everything that's been out there pushing. And in my mind, I think it's the correct path for him. It really shows intent. It shows exactly what he is interested in and how he wants to get his information and what he wants to do for work. That's fine. But I like literally, if he had done anything else, I would have been more surprised. Him doing this was just more of a confirmation for me, to be honest with you.
And I should add it. This is, well, I take it back. It should be, I hope not. But this should not be a full-time job, right? And so the thing is that Lou had to be on somebody's books because somebody had to hold his tickets, right? So anyone that ever thought that he was not getting paid either directly or indirectly by the U.S. government just simply didn't understand how clearances work, because somebody has to hold the tickets, and they can't just do it for no good reason. They have to actually hire you, and you have to actually do something for them usually. And so to me, that's like, it is a big deal in that it is Space Force, right? Because Space Force is a unique entity on its own, right? But the fact that he's a government contractor, like to me, like he always had to have been, because he's kept this, and he's been very honest about keeping his clearances active. With the role that he has in this advisor role, let me put it this way: if you weren't going to have any, I shouldn't phrase it that way. I was going to say real jobs. If you don't want to have any primary roles and you want to have all advisory roles, then you can probably take on 4, 5, 6 different groups. Whereas if you just really want to only dedicate a small portion of your time to an outside activity, then you're probably looking at maybe 20, 30, 40% of your time, depending on what's going on and so forth. So to me, it's not the Space Force it's an advisory role, right? So it's not. My hope is that like what I would hope would happen is that you would end up with a pool of people, maybe like Elizondo, Cahill, and someone else, and they would be this like 1-800 call number, for basically for the Space Force, for Army intelligence, for naval intelligence, for each group, just so they all have one logical resource, so they're all hearing the same thing. I would love that, and this may be the beginning of exactly that.
So when you sat there and said someone held the keys, and he went straight from that to Space Force, and I mean, literally, he had to be asked to get in there, or however he got in there.
Well, but I don't think Space Force existed when he first left the Pentagon.
Okay, so that I was going to ask if it was something when they were created.
Check that.
Yeah, let's do that, because it almost makes sense that he kind of knew he was going in there well beforehand.
But the thing is it very, very little higher. Okay, think about this. They spun up an entirely new branch of the military, and they didn't have to do much hiring. That's because most of the roles they needed were already filled and being done by incredibly competent, awesome people in places like Air Force Space Command, right? So, all these units existed everywhere else. They were distributed all over the place. There were these pocket groups all over the place that had these incredible people, but they weren't under one chain of command.
Gotcha.
And so that ends up being a lot of what, in many ways, it was a reshuffling of existing chairs more than it was. Now they're probably adding new stuff, but and there was a lot of stuff that other people were handling they shouldn't have been handling just because Space Force didn't exist yet, right? And so because it's not like this was the first time Space Force had been suggested, although I think it was the first time that name had been suggested. But I mean, the thing is that even if I don't know, like I would be really interested to find out, and I don't even know if you could, but find out. Is Danny? Find out from Danny. Are you implying that that's the only agency he's doing this for?
Yeah, that's a question.
He's doing it for sorry, Grant. I think he's doing it for a number of agencies. It would only
hope so.
It would only be smart for these agencies to take the guy who ran the program to try and break him down and have them understand what is going on in the UFO world. All right. I mean, he has that insider information. He still has the connections. For what we know in the ATIP program and those who've come after him in the last 4 years, we feel, or we don't know for a fact, but it sounds very personable that he's a well-respected individual within the ATIP community at the Pentagon. Okay. I mean, James Lukatsky spoke very highly of Lou Elizondo.
And Lukatsky would be another good person, right? I mean, it's not to say to lose the only one. There are other good people, yeah.
And it wouldn't surprise me if Elizondo and Lukatsky and others have teamed up to make it some sort of board that is strictly about UAP-based research and knowledge.
So just real quick, yeah, I was correct. Space Force was formed in December of 2019. So that's quite a time after Elizondo departed the Pentagon. But the thing is that like for example, there were federal companies that I don't know what they're called. They're like it's weird. They're whole companies, but all they do is do work for the government. And so it's kind of hard to like understand like exactly what that relationship really is. But I mean, essentially, as soon as you leave the Pentagon, you have a very short window to basically get someone else to pick up your tickets, and they have to have tickets. Like you get, like if you are a company that can have you get a number of tickets. Mm-hmm. That's how many tickets you get. So they may not have any tickets, but my point is if you go, so tickets are a placeholder for a clearance, right? So basically, it's the ticket holder is they're kind of like the communication point. The person who's assigned to the person who works through them, they end up being the contact person if anyone wants to call about that person's security. I mean, basically, they're the so like for example, when I was going to get clearance, I was being sponsored by Sandia. Okay, so my clearance would have come out of Sandia, and so it's kind of weird how some of this stuff plays out. Yeah, but it's definitely very interesting how it works in the subcontractor scheme of things.
And on that note, we're going to end this segment with a comment from Airman 1 in our chat room. Whatever Space Force actually is, we deserve to know what they are up to since we pay them. I would agree with that. And I think they're hunting UFOs. That's just me. Others may not agree, but we're here with the fedora-wearing Jon Hudson, Grant Baker. We continue on with the Unbiased UFO Report when we return on Spaced Out Radio right after this. Good comment, Airman 1. Welcome to SOR Chat, by the way. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate that.
Well, you know, what's interesting about the comment is that I think officially and legally, the U.S. government disagrees.
Yes.
Because, like, you mean, take, for example, the existence of the NRO. The NRO is one of the most expensive. I mean, the NRO got caught because they had stuffed away in their like, you know, lush fund for rainy days, like $6 billion. And it actually made sense for them because they were turning out so many satellites. It actually made sense for them to actually have some kind of flow like that, right? But they actually got into a little bit of trouble for that, right? I mean, you're talking about an obscene amount of money. And that place stayed completely secret until what, like 96? I mean, they turned away a vice president. You know, I mean, it's like, so we have a long history of us paying massive dollars for things that we will not learn about for 50 years.
Right. Or longer.
Or longer. Yeah, one of the more interesting discussions that I want to have at some point with someone is the concept that Annie Jacobson describes in one of her books of born secret. This idea that something can be born secret. And when it's born secret, it is freed from any declassification procedures at all. It is completely detached from that, completely, forever. And that's the first I'd heard of it. And I mean, basically what it means, like all those ones say, okay, after 25 years, it has to be reviewed. These don't even get reviewed. They can never be declassified. Right? Man. I mean, someone could go actively classify that specific document, but they're not going to get caught up in any sort of automated anything whatsoever. Because, and the thing is, she's the only one I've ever seen document it. So I don't even, I don't even know. But I've heard other things that make me think it's true. And those are the kind of things that make me more nervous. And one of the things that she reports on is that essentially one of the roles EG&G held for the U.S. government was essentially warehousing a lot of those born secret documents that basically could never see the light of day. And,
Man, I wish I had the keys to that warehouse.
And like EG&G is a perfect example, right? Is EG&G the U.S. government?
No.
No. Where exactly do they part ways, though?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's like, or you even look at like something like, Lockheed or one of those, Raytheon. I mean, it's like, at least Boeing, pretends to make other things,
Right.
But they just do it because they, I mean, let's face it, where do they make their money, right?
Oh, yeah. What in the world am I hearing?
Now, as a funny side note, which we can talk about in the show if you want to, Dave, is that Salvador Pais is also at the Space Force.
Right.
So that's
all right, we got about 90 seconds, guys. 90 seconds. Hello, SOR paid subscriber. Welcome to the chat. Lowlands Pete, how you doing? Walt Corbin, nice to have you here. Aaron, the original, how you doing, buddy? Corbinian Courier wants to know, Grant, what does your T-shirt read?
Support your local cryptids.
On-air sign is right there, my friends. Right there. I may have to move it. It's not looking too bright over there.
You know, it really doesn't.
See, if I go there, you could see it. It's the lighting here. I got to mess with the lighting.
Here, I can just turn this one on. I'm going to have to get one of those too.
Thank you to Eddie ×2, Jenny, Doug, Kira, D. Cohen, and Smithy for the super chats. Very much appreciate the love, everybody.
Whoa.
That's not good. Jeez, Grantavius. Here we go. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We very much appreciate it. Want to remind you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. For the final time tonight, the fedora-wearing Jon Hudson, the Grantavious one, Grant Baker. We are here until we get to Shirky Poo's News for the Unbiased UFO Report. We're taking questions from all of you in our chat rooms tonight. We've been doing it all night long, having a blast doing it. And what do you think? Is UFOs mainstream right now? Is it something that you are talking to your friends about? Is it something that you are picking up in conversation, whether you're out for dinner, around the workbench, or at a bar, maybe a ball game? Why not? Are you staring up at the skies more because of what is going on? Fedora-wearing Jon Hudson. On a mainstream level, do you think people are starting to take this seriously?
They're taking it, yeah. I mean, they're definitely. I don't think there's any concern about them necessarily taking them seriously. I think there's what you have is you have a large number of people that were enjoying very intentional cognitive dissonance. Like they basically, had enough reason not to believe that they felt they didn't have to worry about it anymore. And so then, as time goes on, more and more people start seeing that threshold crossed, where they go, "Damn it! Now I have to. I didn't want to think about it. Okay, now I will. Okay, fine." And then they start processing it and so forth. And you have this kind of slow graded slope that goes on. And I think a larger number of people are kind of tipping over as we go, because for some people it will be what they heard Bassett say today. For some people it'll be what they heard Corbell say on CNN. For other people it'll be what Gallagher said in the Senate. Different people will be tripped by different things, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, it really is.
How about you, Grant?
The fact it's in social media and it's being broadcast all over the world, you're watching it on CNN, you're listening on all kinds of news stations, you have the government that's getting serious about it. It's gearing up, man. This thing's starting to rock and roll. The wheels are spinning and we're picking up some speed. It's real fun to watch, especially when people haven't seen it before, or the people that are like, "Oh, I thought that was just like conspiracy theory." No, this is like the government's taking it for real. In fact, they got made fun of one day and they're like, "So what are you going to do now?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about? Aren't you the conspiracy theorist?" I said, "Well, not really." And they're like, "Well, you always believe in aliens and now the government says they're real. Are you going to pick another topic?" I said, "Nope." I love it. We're on a good roller coaster, and I'm going to enjoy the ride for as long as it takes us, and hopefully it goes pretty far for us, my man.
I hope so too. And I want to see where this goes. I want to see how much they're going to open up. Okay, the initial hearings that we saw, obviously, really don't show much. We need to keep that pressure up. We need to be as, even me in Canada here, you guys in the United States, we need to keep up the pressure on both sides of the border with the politics and the political parties, and remind them that this isn't a unilateral party decision. This is
Dave,
something that affects everyone.
Dave, what you're saying is I think more important than a lot of people know, because Congress. I love how Bob says Congress critters. Congress critters are they're coin operated. Okay, I mean yeah, okay, from that way too. But what I mean is that when they do things, they look for results, right? They want to see an effect from the actions they take. Otherwise, they'll take different actions, right? Because they're always looking for that. And so essentially, if we don't, especially like the people who are in the districts where those Congress critters actually go back home to, right? Those people need to start really putting on a lot of, and I don't even mean negative pressure, I mean positive pressure. Support them, encourage them, show them that it matters to you, that it's important to you. Because if their pollsters or whoever they use don't come back and show that hearing moved something for them, they won't participate in the next one. It'll still happen, but that person will have a hard time finding value in it. So what you're saying, Dave, reaching out to the people, it's really, really important, because it helps keep that momentum going,
Here's a funny story. I'll tell you one personally on this. Last October, when we had the Canadian federal election here, I had one of the parties that I was interested in voting in had this new person come in board. Every time somebody wants to become an elected official, they come in, they do the tour, they shake the hands. So I asked this person, what's your opinion of UFOs? And he kind of stumbled and bumbled through it. And, I haven't really paid much attention to it. I said, the party you're running for is very interested in UFOs, right? And he says, well, I'm not too sure about that. I really haven't met a lot of people. I said, do you have an interest in learning about UFOs? So anyways, since there's been a lot of news come out about Member of Parliament Larry Maguire come out, I emailed him. And I said, I told you, as a voting citizen, when you and I met at such and such a place where you shook my hand, I told you to be very, very concerned about this subject and learn about it from your elders at your office. I never got a response. So I know that there's a leadership role coming up here, and I'm going to see who my candidate is supporting for their party, and then I'm going to blast them again about UFOs. And if I don't get a response, then I'm going to write to the head of the party, which is, who controls the voting for that area, or you have to win your constituency in order to run federally. And I'm going to say, fire him. We need to fire him. He's not paying attention. Not paying attention. Not getting back to his constituents about the party and about what the party is asking questions about. I want to know why. You're on mute, John.
There's levels of engagement, right? I mean, like you take Gillibrand actually getting involved in I don't know how this differs for Canadian, but in America, like you can get involved in the actual legislative, like the real writing of the bills, right? You can get involved in all of the riling up of support for it and all the negotiations. You can just participate by being a vocal voter of that bill, right? So there's different levels of engagement that you can take, and so it's not to say that anyone has to be all in on this UFO topic, but they better damn well have an open mind. You know, they better damn well have an open mind. And the thing is, I think we're starting to see. I was really pleased to see Adam Schiff come out in that hearing and come out really strong and say some really good things. And you know, he's someone who I've followed for a long time on a number of different projects. And you know, this is the first time I've seen him say anything, and he came out like guns blazing. So obviously he was thinking about it before and just wasn't saying anything, you know. And he's a really good person to have involved because of where he sits on some of the other panel boards and so forth, or whatever you call them, committees. So you know, so it's not even to say that your candidate has to be, pen paling with Steve Bassett, right? It's to say that have an open mind, engage in some way, you know.
Grant?
I was on mute too. I when it comes to all the things that are going on in the government, I'm more or less, I took the low road on that one. I quit listening to him long ago. When it comes to having, like the story you just told us, where they're, I told you so. You should have been paying attention, and then I read in the comments where everybody's like, oh, there's a lot of people that need to be fired in this, and they may be right. There are a lot of people that they're in there. They're putting blockades up on all the information, and not even just UFOs, but other things too. And when it comes to what we need as a people, they do need to be paying attention. They do need to be doing their own homework and not hubbubbing through it. Like when you go, hey, do you know that your party, they're into UFOs? Are you going to, learn from your elders? He doesn't do anything. And it's sad because I think the newer generation, fortunately for us, is more interested. So once the older people that are going to fade out and you bring all these new young guys, girls in, hopefully that changes. And I would really like to see change because no one's fighting for it in there. They're doing it because it was kind of brought up. It honestly, when you have as much of the phenomenon happening in the skies now, where it's becoming planes are, multi-billion-dollar jets are going to run into them. It's kind of time to where they're like, oh, we got to take a stand on this. And there's a lot of people that are seeing it, and the internet helped out quite.
That brings up another good point, though, Grant, because we are hearing reports coming out as recently as last week that U.S. aircraft, military aircraft, have fired upon these UAP without any success of hitting them.
Mm-hmm. I haven't heard that, but that's interesting. I'm going to have to look that up.
John, did you hear that report?
Where did you hear this, Dave?
This, I was watching or paying attention to the social media and other podcasts where there are reports in some of my private rooms that I'm in as well that apparently last week, as early as last week, there were fighter jets that fired upon UAP unsuccessfully.
And they came back?
The fighter pilots? Yes.
Yeah.
So this was on other chat groups, so it's not something I can look up on the web?
I'm in a couple of very private chat rooms.
Yeah, Dave's one of those people.
I am.
Wow. So I remember seeing something about it, and I didn't get excited. I thought it was saying that there was a very old case of it happening that was then coming to light. I was not aware that it was a recent case. I have to admit, I'm less interested in the fact that they shot upon it. I'm a little less interested in the fact that they missed. What I'm a lot more interested in is why were they actually engaging? at all. What was the sequence of events that resulted in them being weapons free? Because there are conditions that have to be met in most cases, and now, to be honest, those some of those conditions were actually met with the Tic Tac. There's reasons that you could have used to justify firing on the Tic. So I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I would really like to know the details of what happened, because my understanding. I'm really second guessing him, but my understanding was that the U.S. military there was kind of a universal stand down order when it came to these things as far as firing was concerned.
Well, I mean, I would think so. I thought the same thing, where we're not going to fire upon them as long as they don't do anything to us. And they're coming close to our jets, but realistically, I'm super interested in why they actually went weapons hot on this. And the fact that I've read somewhere just in the chat right now that they couldn't get a lock on it, and I'm over here trying to find it. I'm just oh my gosh!
And there are extra things to consider when going weapons free without a law. I mean, like there was sequence of events that decisions had to be made. I'd like to know who made those decisions and why. Right? Like, just what was that sequence? Because the thing is, we all have in the back of our heads that Russian story about an actual engagement where the Russian pilots did not come home.
Right. This story is allegedly being told on mainstream media by Jeremy Corbell. Now, Corbell, love him or hate him, does seem to have some very in-depth sources that are leaking information to him. Whether or not it's correct or going to be confirmed, we don't know. We really don't know.
However, I will say that I actually believe, and I haven't been able to confirm this with any recent shipboard people, but I believe that I actually might have reason to believe that there is a stand-down order, because of the fact that one of the more interesting weapons that we have aboard ship is a phalanx system. This is essentially an automatic Gatling gun.
Yeah, it's called CWIS.
Yes, and this is a completely automated system. Okay, anything that comes in trajectory of that ship gets riddled full of bullets. The only way that thing does not fire is if someone has actively turned it off. So why didn't it fire at any of these UFOs? It means someone turned it off.
Well, I mean,
and that is not that is a type of system where it's like an active passive system where it's designed to always be on. You're not really supposed to turn it off, right? Because it can be used for taking out anything from drones to missiles. I mean, it's a very, very, very good system. Go watch a video. It's amazing, right?
Yeah, they sound like a lawnmower when they go off.
Yeah. It's crazy, and so that's always active. So I mean, like if you go fly a drone near it, your drone's gone. So why were they turned off? To me, that's evidence that there's a stand down.
Very true. Gentlemen, I'm going to get you to hold on right there, because we are going to quickly run and hop in with 3 minutes to go to Shirky Poo's news. And we're going to get to it right now.
What time is it? It's time for Shirky Poo's news!
Now, normally I go into a number of reports here, but there's one that I'm going to get into tonight. Professional wrestler Chris Jericho. I don't know if you've seen him on Twitter today, but he put out a video that is going absolutely viral, a disgusting video of his niece having the tar beaten out of her by bullies at school. Now, you could go on at I Am Jericho to actually check this out, okay? And this is now starting to get major play in the media because he tweeted it out. And it seems like he may have actually taken down the tweet. The tweet actually came out yesterday. It says, "Hey, at Hillsborough School, my niece has been incessantly bullied at hashtag Mulrennan Middle School for months. Despite my family's pleas, nobody did anything to help. And this, as in the video below, was the result a few days ago. If you won't take action, I'd love to discuss this on at ABC Action News, at WFLA anytime." Now, this shows approximately a 10-second video of 3 or 4 girls just beating the tar out of this young lady and pulling her hair, kicking her, punching her. And look, anybody who has been bullied, this is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And there are thousands of retweets and messages going towards this. Look, it takes a community, everyone, to really end this type of BS. It takes a community. And the fact that you have, I don't care if professional wrestling, you feel it's real or fake or whatever, but you have a bunch of tough dudes and ladies in that realm of entertainment. I would hate to be these families right now.
Is this his daughter, his niece?
His niece. Okay, so there was a couple of responses that came along with this, including a tweet earlier today where Newsweek put out that Jericho's urging action about this. Jericho responded, "I have screenshots of messages sent to the principal by my niece's older sister on May 6th asking for help with, quote, some girls who are messing with my sister. I know who they are and need to talk to you about them," end quote. Those messages were left unanswered. Want to see them at Hillsborough School. You know what? If these school boards are not going to protect our kids, I don't care what their ages are, what color they are, what sex they are, they need to be called out, and those people in the school board need to be fired. Plain and simple.
Here's the thing. I applaud him for doing this. I do. But the exact same thing was happening to me in 1986. And was happening to a gazillion other people through all sorts of decades, right?
I understand, John.
But all I'm saying is that I'm happy that they're doing it, but it's not to say that it's a new phenomenon.
And that is Shirky Poo's news. Thank you. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. A special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. I know you're out there somewhere. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. All right, we're clear, guys.
It's funny. Someone posted, I don't know where it went. They said that in 79 they had a heart attack in school and they were told to keep running.
I saw that. That sucks, dude. Dude, that's what it is. It's no empathy at all. Like people just don't care.
Frontier studies. Well, you know what, John? I was bullied as a kid too.
Yeah,
I wasn't
I think a lot of people were. I mean, that's the thing that's so horrible about it.
I wasn't bullied because of who I was, or my looks, or my weight, or anything. I was bullied because of my last name being very long in Ukrainian, that people couldn't announce it or pronounce it properly. Imagine that.
Yeah, that would be pretty weird. Yeah, I hadn't thought about the fact that the focus point of the judgment would be different, with how it would change the experience for those that are judged. That's actually very interesting. See, for me, it was all based on a race. It was purely race, and so, you know, it didn't matter who you were. You know, it didn't matter which one of them you were. You were one of them. You know, and so, and the thing is that, you know, it was the same sort of thing where, you know, administrative did nothing, blah, blah, blah. And the thing that's so interesting to me is the fact that, you know, the reason why we could do nothing back then is because we didn't have cell phones with 4K cameras on them, right? I mean, it's like, that's the thing that's so beautiful about this. And the thing is, we're catching all this video of, like, you know, of people in leadership roles. I'm not going to get into details, committing violent acts in their role of their jobs. We're getting videos of teachers doing it, you know, of students doing it. And the thing is that it's time to true up. It's time to be more honest about what we've all been doing to each other, you know, because
I would say,
and it's not unique, you know, it's been going on forever.
I don't know what it's like down there, but I know up here, the biggest change over the years that we've seen up here is that it's not a one-on-one situation anymore. It's a 3-on-1, a 5-on-1, a 9-on-1 situation. Yeah. And that is something, like I said, I don't know what it's like down there, but right. I know up here it has been, that's the biggest change that we have seen as parents. Like my daughter was my middle daughter, who looks like an absolute Barbie doll. Okay. She was bullied up here by a group of, and it's not just boys anymore. It's a group of boys and girls that will almost tag team a situation now. And up here, if you're not from here, born here, if you're adopted here, they don't like the outsiders, and they make up horrific and salacious rumors about you, right? And my daughter had it all, that she was pregnant, and then she had an abortion, and then she got pregnant by another dude right after, and my daughter's like a virgin at this time, right? I mean, it's horrible.
And the thing is that, you know, I mean, you know, then you go back and, like, I remember my mom telling me about how when she was going to Mountain View High School in the 50s, you know, like a girl got actually, like, sexually assaulted during the school, right? And the thing is that you hear all these horror stories, and the problem is that nothing ever happened. I mean, I'll tell you what I had to do was I got so frustrated with the office that I actually I brokered a meeting between myself and an administrator and two of the guys that I was having the most trouble with, and basically I sat down and talked with all of them, and with those guys I solved it. But it didn't change anything with anyone else, and it was always 9-on-1. It was never 1-on-1. And even if it was strangely 1-on-1 for some reason, it was going to be 9-on-1 after school, you know. And the thing was is that you couldn't take action into your own hands, because if you were ever caught fighting, everyone got suspended. So you were told not to hit back. So you literally had to just stand there. It was phenomenal. We've had cases of the coaches taking bets.
That's
That's
sickening
stuff. But could you imagine, like, fast forwarding these parents, and all of a sudden somebody like Chris Jericho or some 300-pound wrestler comes up to your door and says, "We're going to have a talk right now."
Well,
right?
and the thing is that the sad thing is that does happen, right? That does happen occasionally. You do get these cases of like extreme domestic violence, even in some cases, right? And it's horrible. And the thing is that, like, it's great that this guy's doing this for his niece. It's awesome, totally awesome. And the way he's going about it, I think it's okay. I wish it wasn't quite as sensationalized, but I don't think he has a choice in the matter. I'd much rather him be throwing around verbal jabs than physical jabs, right? But ultimately, what the hell happened? Why was the sister helping? Right? Like, what were the parents doing? And so does that mean the parents were nullified? They had no power. They had no ability to do anything, right? That's a horrible position to put the parents in, a horrible position to put the kid in, right? It's I don't know. It's just it's like
horrible.
I said, to me, it's a beautiful thing that we are now getting to the point where we can start collecting data on it. And this is why, like, I've been advocating for a long time. I want every square inch of a school. I want 6 camera angles on it. I want it just like a casino. Same thing I do. Same thing we build out of casinos. I want that on every campus, because the thing is that I don't want one person's opinion. I don't want one camera angle. I want 6 camera angles. Right?
Well,
I want 6 camera angles. I want audio. I want acoustics. Because I can't trust anyone to report anything, honestly, even when they try.
Yeah. Such a
part of
touchy subject.
Part of it started, going back to when I was in high school, where, like I said, a different country, different time, different era, where our parents still encourage us to fight our own battles.
Mm-hmm.
And our parents, like, I remember when I was being picked on by a guy who ended up becoming my best friend, okay, for 28 years. Okay, he wanted to go. Let's go. We never ended up fighting. But hold on, let me finish.
One-on-one is different.
No, there was a couple people there. But here's the thing. I think because today, and I don't know where to put the blame on it. I have my assumptions that I'll keep to myself. But I mean, one of the problems that we have now is the solutions of violence. Like, everybody is into this, society is into this one-upsmanship, where all of a sudden it goes from a knife to a gun to somebody getting hurt. Now there's revenge, leading to school shootings if it continues. Okay. And this is where it gets very, very ugly, because everybody's got to one-up the situation in order to say, okay, I'm not tough enough. Well, look what happened in Florida with that kid who lit up the school a couple years ago. Okay, that was a kid who was bullied, who was, not popular, and
Yep. No, and the thing was, the kids the kids that did.
Of course, he does.
But yeah, and the thing is that in the world I grew up in, the kids that did stand up, in some cases their lives were in jeopardy, because it would escalate so quickly. Essentially, like, you would go from having one enemy to having 30 people you never even met before. And now anytime you're walking anywhere around that town, like at any point in time, you walk down any alleyway, anywhere, there's a chance you're going to get jumped. Everywhere, to school, back home from school, every day, everywhere you go, forever. It's so the challenge is that even if you succeed in fighting back. Like I even had one case where I fought back, and that one guy and I, we ended up becoming friends, but it didn't change anything for anyone else. It just took one guy out of the pack. But he couldn't do anything to help me. So, I mean, it was, and so like I said, and the thing is that a lot of it, in a way, in a funny way, it's kind of like the phenomenon. In that essentially we have all this human behavior that we all know is happening. We all talk about it. A bunch of us experience it. A bunch of us get harmed by it. Some of us benefit by it. And no one wants to actually admit it exists because we don't have enough hard evidence of it. And so films like what this guy published, that's evidence, right? So maybe that video is the Tic Tac event for another kind of disclosure, right? Because the thing is that I understand everyone's like fear and resistance to monitoring of schools, but I mean, we all remember what it's like. I mean, every kid knows the exact line of sight of their teacher at any point in the day. They know exactly where they're looking and where the areas of non-visibility are. And a bunch of stuff happens in the shadows. And it happens all the time. It's not even random. It's consistent. It's perpetual. Is it over midnight? It is. Hey, it's a birthday boy. Happy birthday, Dave.
Thank you, buddy.
It is
Appreciate
that. Yeah. Yeah. And so I guess my point is I don't think it's necessarily getting any worse. It's probably getting worse in certain regions. Like for us, the gang problem really became big in like the 80s, and so it came early for us. And for other regions, it's different types of gangs too. It's more cultural gang, more like local native type gangs. There's others. And some of them get into business too. So some of those gangs actually had not legitimate, but real businesses going on, which then changed their entire posture. So it was I think that very much like the phenomenon. Now that we're going to actually start getting data on it, because the thing is that while everyone fights it tooth and nail, the truth of the matter is that I can discern a boatload about your intent if I can monitor enough of your vitals in your movement, right? So it would be hard to stop it, but you could certainly get to a point where you have an alarm going off about 3 seconds before every single act of violence is done. Wouldn't stop the violence from happening, but it would at least give you indication that it had and record that it had, so that then when someone says this happened to me, people actually believe them. Because I mean that's the biggest problem, is that no one believes you. It really is very much like the phenomenon in that way. It's kind of funny, but when you're bullied, no one believes you. That's the worst part of it. Nobody believes it's really as bad as you say it is. Everyone thinks you're exaggerating. Everybody. Even your parents.
Yeah, until you get someone who gets it on camera, and you see it, or you see your kid come through the door and have marks all over him. It happened to me. I was that kid, and then I literally had that talk. I'm old enough to where they're like, "Don't do it at school. Do whatever you need to do to just kind of get away from him at school or whatnot. But if he catches you alone, just do what you got to do." And that. One day it finally happened, and then the bully's parents came to talk to my kids, and it was very interesting because my mom knew what she had told me literally the day before, and here's her kid just I tripped him up and slammed him on the ground, and it was happenstance on how I was able to do it. I couldn't do it again to save my life, but he hit pretty hard, and I didn't mean to do that to him, but his mom was mad, to say the least, and my mom told his mom that I'm grounded. As soon as they shut the door and she looked out the window and they're gone, she goes, "Good job. You're not grounded. Good job." what happened though? Why does he look like that? And I had to explain, I don't know exactly what happened because I didn't hit him, and he never messed with me again. It was an interesting day, but it just makes me sick to see. In the beginning, my son was bullied for a little bit there, and then he started to become the bully. And that was something I tried, even to this day, I hear about it every now and then. I tried to nip it. And it's just like, no, you can't do that. That's not good.
My
Nothing
son,
good comes of it.
my son
That's
was
the
being
problem.
bullied in kindergarten. Was being bullied in kindergarten by a boy, and his best friend Marlon went up to the kid and smoked him and stopped. The principal hauls Marlon, the 5 years old, okay, hauls Marlon into the principal's office, calls his parents, you got to pick up your son. Right? So parents are very strict parents. They go, Marlon, what happened? Well, they were picking on my boy. And he goes, so I stood up for him and he wouldn't stop. So I hit him. And Marlon got suspended.
Mm.
The other boy did not. So the parents went absolutely haywire. Said, you're suspending my boy for doing something right?
Mm-hmm.
For doing something right, you're suspending him? And so they pulled him out of public school. They filed a complaint with the school board on the principal. And they pulled him out of school. Marlon's now homeschooled. But Marlon, who is literally about 4 inches shorter than my son, he is one tough little son of a bitch. One little,
Well,
like,
that's the hard part. There are a ton of situations where it is a battle of individual egos, and there are ways to mitigate that. In some cases, standing up to them works. In some cases, finding commonality with them. Whenever it's really ego driven, and it's really in that there are because that I think that is definitely been going on since the beginning of time, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's a human nature
but
thing.
you know what?
What
You know what?
I was going to say is that when you have the group things, I think it becomes just a little more challenging, because what I came to realize myself was that I couldn't escalate it, because escalating it at all would end up resulting in someone dying. Like every possible path I could think of to escalate, I was able to work it out, and like it would eventually result in at least someone being stabbed, right?
Hey, but that's also California, and that's also high school. I'm talking elementary school here.
Well, this was actually sixth grade.
Sixth grade, you had to deal with that? Holy shit!
Yeah, that was sixth and seventh grade. Because by high school, I hit my growth spurt and it stopped.
Mine was 5th and 6th grade.
Right.
See,
no, I mean, it was in the 5th grade when someone tried to strangle me. It was somewhere in my 5th and 6th grade that someone tried to strangle me.
My son in grade 1 got punched in the stomach because he was in a grade 1-2 split. He's a year advanced on everything. So up here they have split classes and everything. So you have kindergarten grade 1, grade 2, and they put the smarter kids in. My son is pretty brilliant, and so in grade 1, a couple of the older kids that he was hanging out with didn't want him to play Transformers with them. So they took his Transformer and threw it, and when he went and asked why they did that, they punched him. One kid punched him in the stomach, called him a bunch of bad names. Right? So I go find out from the teacher what happened, and she's really woke. And I basically said to her, point blank, I said, just so you know, I have now taught my kid how to fight. And if you suspend or punish my child for defending his own rights, I said, we'll see you in court.
Absolutely.
And I said, I will take you for everything.
And now, I'm curious to see how it works in Canada, because in the U.S., what happens in most cases is they have a policy that says that in the case of anyone committing violence is gone. So basically, if I hit you, I'm gone. If I hit you and you hit me, we're both gone. And so in its policy, so they basically they can't get sued for that part of it, right? Like they get sued for a lot of other dumb behavior, but that part of it is, I mean, it is actually their policy. So, and it's a published
Pay a
policy.
lawyer
So,
enough, they'll find the loophole.
true, fair
It
enough.
also depends the state too.
And
Yeah,
you see
yeah.
that you see where the educational system has failed is the kid who stuck up for himself or herself should never be punished for doing what's right. Because John, in your situation, but where it was, let's say, a life or death situation, okay, that, I mean, you're fighting for your life, and for you to get the equal time, equal punishment for that, that's wrong. And the problem is these school boards. Thank you, Kim. I appreciate that, and thank you everybody who has wished me a happy birthday. Thank you. I love you guys. Honestly, I do. Sorry for cutting you off. But the problem with the school boards and these wokeness in school is it's the same thing with participation badges, where everybody deserves a participation badge. That's not true. There's winners and there's losers in life. And if you are being punished for doing the right thing, that sticks in your head as a child. And when that situation arises again, you're not doing the right thing because you got punished for doing the right thing. Example, okay, something real simple. I love to cook. Okay, I've always, when I was 15, 16, I loved cooking and baking. It's one of the things I love to do. And so I decided one day I was going to make my parents breakfast. Instead of saying thank you, my mother decided to rip me a new asshole because I didn't clean up after myself in the kitchen. And I got an absolute earful that there was pans and, you know, flour and egg shells and everything all over the counters. I never made breakfast for my parents again because I was too afraid that I would get in shit again. It's the same thing with kids in school, man. They stand up for themselves, and if they get in trouble, okay, this is where shit gets ugly.
Well, yeah,
This
because
is
I mean, you don't have any options, right? Like, there's no one, there's absolutely no one to support you. And the thing that's funny about what you said is that, in my experience, almost, I almost use getting in trouble as an indication that I am doing the right thing. In a weird way, you know, like, I mean, even in most of my jobs, usually, like, I have the job that I do because it's the job that they measure me by, and that's the job that they think is important. And then I do that so that I have time to do the other 20%, which is what I know is really important, you know? And so, you know, I just, you know, the thing is it what you said about the you know, I mean, we differ a lot on I really was baffled how woke became a derogatory term. It baffles me to no end. But ultimately, what ended up diffusing it for me, and the reason why I didn't end up needing to go to any more violence, because I was headed toward a violent path. I mean, I started carrying weapons, and I started, you know, going that path, and started, you know, started learning how to fight, and that was the path I was going. And it was when it dawned on me that essentially, for someone to bully someone at school they had to have seen that behavior work somewhere first. And that meant that what I had to suffer from just when I went to school, they had to suffer from in their own homes.
See, and that's the biggest thing
And
right
when
there.
it hit me that what I was suffering from a stranger, they were suffering from a brother or an uncle or a father,
Or mother.
that changed everything for me. And that changed everything for me. And that wasn't until like I don't think I figured that out till the 8th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, but that was a big thing. That was huge. That diffused everything, and then that came back down to upbringing again, you know. And the thing is that it's a really interesting debate we have going on in this world, where essentially there seems to be people that think that
I'll be right back, guys.
that you should be essentially content to do what you're supposed to do perpetually, without any reward, essentially. That it's your honor to do the job, sort of a thing, right?
Right.
And then there's other people that feel that humans need to be perpetually motivated. And what I've personally found is that both are actually true, but I can get about 10x more work out of someone on the second half, right? If I just let them, go on their own, they'll figure it out, right? But if I can figure out ways to motivate them to do the things that they should be doing and really reward them for doing that, my goodness, like it's like night and day, right? That's why there aren't many good managers out there.
Right.
Most of them don't know how to do that, and so the thing is that I think a lot of these, like it was really interesting. There was a good discussion the other day by the guys that did the Terror in the Sky movie, and they were specifically talking about the camera they were using, and they were talking about the fact that a normal infrared camera looks up to, I think they said 1,000. It was like the difference between like 1,000 and like 7,000 for the camera they were using. So they were seeing like significantly more frequencies and essentially that was the only camera they saw things on. Like they would have that camera, and then they would have a like normal night vision goggles, and those couldn't see it.
Well, yeah. I mean,
they didn't have they didn't have the fidelity of range in there. They didn't have the discrete chip, the component to this. You know what I'm saying? So, and so the thing is that, like, Dave always talks about like this why now, and I really believe that there's a very strong chance that why now is specifically the Spy 1 radar. Because essentially, if I'm a commander of a group and I have anyone coming back from patrol to me saying they saw something, I don't want to blow the person off. I want to stand up for them. I want to support them, but I can't, because it's just a story. I can't take that chain of command. Nope. We'll both get in trouble, right? Whereas now, if you can come to me and say, blah, 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 and I can go to the radar guy and I can go, really? And he goes, blah, 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 blah,
Right.
now I can actually defend my person without sacrificing my own career, right?
Absolutely.
Because I actually have evidence. And I really think that it was that was the change. That basically as soon as the Spy 1 radar went active, we started seeing things that we'd never seen before. That they'd been seeing visually, but they'd never been seen before in these devices. And I think what we may end up seeing is something very similar in the surveillance in the school systems, and that essentially we're going to figure out some way to essentially monitor things, and we're going to suddenly start realizing, whoa, this problem is much bigger than we thought. However, now that we're aware of it, it's actually easier to fix.
Yep.
You know?
Real quick, see how we're living. Thank you for the awesome super chat. And I'm going to keep this on my screen so I can let Dave see it, because I know he's probably going to go through. And thank you for the awesome super chat to you as well.
Yeah,
and
huge support,
you know
guys,
what's funny is he didn't ever put mine up there. Why wouldn't you do that? I was the first one that said it. No, I'm just playing. Actually, I was, but let me go back. I got to look now. I just want it up on the screen just for 2 seconds, and I'll throw them back on there. Let's see, where am I at? I'm gonna
if you guys ever want to like really like look at like what different ammunition can do and so forth, there are some great apps for the phone where you can plug in a bunch of data and it will tell you everything you need to know. It's amazing. It is. I forget what the last one I used, but there's a couple of them. They're really good. They're fantastic tools.
Did you ever see the Little Book of Knowledge? It was just a little book of everything.
Yeah. I think I have one somewhere.
Yeah, they made a whole bunch of them, and I used to have a couple. Like I'd buy one, and
there's
then
there's some great charts in there, like really good reference charts.
I was the first at 12:08.
There you go.
Let me go back down to put the. There we go. No, I used to love that little book. I'm talking, the reference charts in the back. Oh my gosh, you could convert anything you wanted with that book, and the useless knowledge that was in there. That was just, it was really an entertaining book to go through. Just pick a page, open it up, read it, and learn something new every day.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Oh man. Well, anyways, real quick. So, let's see. 5 years ago, I was living in Grants Pass, and we had bought a brand spanking new truck. And it was the one night I didn't go out to make sure all the vehicles were locked. I do that as a nightly ritual. I'll do it tonight after this. I just make sure everything's locked up. I secured the compound. The one night I didn't. My wife comes in. I lock the door behind her because I met her at the door, and I said, "Did you lock your truck?" "Oh yeah, I locked it." "Okay." That was fine. Next morning, come out, everything's just gone through. There was only like $12 in the truck cash, but shoes were missing. All kinds of stuff was missing out of it. Well, we ended up finding it like half a block down or a few doors down. One of the gals that was over there before she had retired into one of the condos that we were living in, she had owned like 300 acres or something like that. And she had a problem with coyotes and stuff. And so she had this insanely clear. It is the most clear night vision goggle I have ever looked through. Now, my brother Dan, who was on the aircraft, they had the doubles, and they're like $18,000. What's funny is those $18,000 ones still weren't as clear as the one that I was looking through that this lady let me borrow. It was about that long. It was very small, and it kind of looked like this, but it was only a monocular. It was a military grade. I don't know how she got it. She said that she had to pay $6,000 to get it. I will tell you right now, I could be on the darkest street on the darkest night and still look across the street and see the grain of wood in my front door with that thing. It was wild.
Well, and the thing is it the really high end military stuff now?
Full color.
Like you can't even tell. You can't even. I mean, it looks a little off.
Mm-hmm.
It looks a little off, but in some ways, actually, honestly, I think it looks cooler. Like I kind of like how life looks through those, right? Like I think I could kind of live with those things on. Like I think life looks prettier with those things on. Well, and then you have the. This is another good example of where the phenomenon research is going to get interesting, because we're moving to a way where you're going to have like say 18 guys spread out around a moving convoy, right? And they all have visible areas and blocked areas, and they all have zones that they're in charge of and zones that they are protected from and not protected from. However, they each have a 360-degree round head. Thank you. And so you put enough cameras on each one of them, and you put goggles on each one of them, and you can now link them all together, and you can make all of your blind spots go poof. You
That's
could make
wild, man.
the vehicles disappear. You could make you could do whatever you need to do to help those nice people finish their mission. And so you could see how going forward a number of years how if you could go out into the forest with say 6 people and each be wearing a headset that gave each one of you 360-degree awareness that stitched together into one object afterwards that you could then go back and do the analysis on. Ooh.
So it's basically giving you like, yeah, it's basically like LiDAR, but you're using the individual components of, or people, whoever you want to call them.
Well, yeah, and actually what's funny about that is that that's also the other interesting part is that when you start overlapping images, you can start doing some very interesting things. And so because you do have overlap between the people, you can start getting some very high fidelity stuff.
They should do that in space then.
Yeah, and I mean, hell, the latest iPhones have LiDAR on them.
Mine has
it. The guy that the main Egyptian researcher that I really like right now on YouTube, this guy, he does a show called Uncharted X, and I like his style. But when he goes to Egypt and other places, he will actually do a LiDAR scan of the object. And then when he gives his talk on YouTube, he brings up his scan and rotates it. And if you're a Patreon member, he'll let you download the image so you can play with it yourself.
It's a big image. So every time I break out the LiDAR, and what's funny is the iPhone 13 Pro Plus, I don't even know what the heck this thing is. It's the Max, I guess, the big guy.
Right.
When you actually turn the LiDAR on and start moving it around, so everything has lines. And then when they turn a different color, like blue or whatever, that's when it's captured that facet. So you have something like this microphone. So it breaks it down into triangles.
Right.
We can talk about that. Yep. And then it starts filling them in. And then if you get to a different section, but it still can see. So let's pick a point on this microphone that I'm pointing to. Now I'm going back and forth with my hand, but it's a 3-dimensional object, so it can now see a different angle of that, and it takes a picture of it. By the time it is done, it is a massive file for one picture.
Yeah. It's a boatload of data. It's amazing. It's amazing the stuff you can get with it. I mean, and the thing is that we're only just at the very beginning of it. Because
they should LiDAR the whole Earth. I'm not kidding you. If you LiDAR the whole Earth, you're going to find some stuff.
They just found another city. They just found another city with LiDAR, right? And the thing is that now you add this muon detection that they did for the pyramid. And if I can start doing that with ground penetration objects, if I can get, top quality LiDAR from say 1,000 feet up in a drone and then drop markers and then go back with those markers and then drop, cylinders into the ground to do the muon detection, there's not going to be much you can hide.
Nope. The LiDAR will catch all.
There's not going to be much you can hide. There are going to be things that are out of phase, and there's going to be other things, fields and so forth, that might not show up, but you're going to get a lot.
Well, yeah, once you can crunch your data, and the biggest thing with LiDAR is like you can see all this stuff. It's like when they did the Amazon, they found like 10,000 structures, and they're like, dude, it's going to take us 50 years to figure this stuff out. Well, that's great because it's pretty remote, and to get in there and actually excavate all this stuff, yeah, it's going to take forever. But if you just did a Google Earth in LiDAR form and just put it out there, there's enough people that sit here and find weird stuff on Google Earth for the last gobs of years, however many it's been out. I mean, one guy found a missing car in a lake. I mean, you give them a LiDAR scan of the planet,
Oh my Lord.
Dude, all hands on deck. You would have
Yep.
millions and millions of people finding stuff all day long.
Yeah,
And
it'd be
then
amazing. And we're going to get there. I mean, it's just a
Mhm.
matter of time. It's not a question of if, it's just a question of when.
no. And
Right?
then
I mean, that's all
then
it is.
someone's be like, hey, check it out. I found the entrance to Hollow Earth or
Right.
whatever.
And the thing is that in fairness, like to that file, I mean, just the other day I filmed my daughter's, first open house. It was 20-minute video, but I forgot to turn off 4K. So it's 6 gigs.
Yeah.
6 gigs for 20 minutes.
Yeah,
right?
but you know what? You got the most
Oh
high
no, I
quality
don't mind.
version.
But my point is that even the formats we use today, if we use them with all the bells and whistles turned on, they're actually quite large as well. And so when you
Oh, yeah.
compare that to the size of the LiDAR file, yeah, it's still a big difference, but it starts to look a little more in line, with everything. And yeah, I mean, the thing is that there's I really think we've gotten to the point now where if one person had an unlimited budget, in about a year, they could kit themselves out with the right kind of gear, where it would be.
So
not
Joe
much
Monk, real
value.
quick, Team Elon. I was just thinking the same thing, but the problem with Elon Musk in this particular venture is, I don't want to say this. So Elon has how do I put this? If you can consider Elon Musk's other thought processes, and let's just pick aliens and stuff. Okay, if you consider what he thinks about that and how he's like, oh, they're very subtle. Just watch some Elon Musk about when he talks about aliens and stuff. To get him to do something like a LiDAR scan of the whole planet, he has the ability to do it. In fact, it probably wouldn't even take anywhere near what it costs by Twitter.
Well, and he's getting rid of LiDAR.
There's a reason. Unless he's
ditching
gonna,
LiDAR.
unless I mean,
He believes he can do it completely optically,
mm-hmm.
and there's no reason why he can't. There isn't. With the right kind of camera, there's no reason why you can't. My opinion is, I think it's harder, but
It is.
but it might not be harder when you consider the difficulty of stitching the two data sets together.
Mm-hmm. Well, you got to also understand, LiDAR is a whole complete different thing than visuals, and with visuals, the canopy is going to get in the way. So if you're looking at something visually, which he did a magnificent job with the cars, because those cars are, I mean, they're using obviously a little bit of radar and some other stuff to know that there's something physically around them that their cameras may not see. But most of the driving, the self-awareness, the driving of the car when it goes into autopilot is all on a video camera. It digitally sees physical objects.
Yep, I know. And I've watched a lot of the footage of what the car sees, and
it's pretty wild.
It is crazy, and and it's like a lot of things we joke about. Like I met a guy that worked for Google X, and one of the problems he had to work out at one point was like all those awful decisions that have to be considered, right? Like, what do you do when you're driving a car and you can only go two ways, and one way you're going to hit a kid and the other way you're going to hit a nun? What do you do, right?
I already know what I would do.
We even know what to do, but you have to actually.
Oh, I know exactly what I would do.
you actually have to tell a car what to do, right? Mm-hmm. So, and it'll do it, but it needs to know, or you have to give it a value system. I guess don't do that. But no, look, I mean, the problem with getting Elon involved in anything is that it has to make money.
That's it.
And
well, there's money to be had in that though, and I guarantee.
Well, yeah. No, for sure. But let's face it. Like, if there really was some massive disclosure of technology, that's actually not a good thing for SpaceX.
Mm-mm.
And they're on a runway of at least a couple years. Now it's modular, so the truth of the matter is you could start phasing in stuff pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But like that other guy that's 3D printing everything, I think that's pretty interesting too. So because that stuff's good. I don't know. It's there's a lot of very riskful decisions being made,
Mm-hmm.
and bets being made, and reasonable bets, good bets that I like that are being made, that I think are interesting, and I look forward to seeing the result of. And I think both sides have reason to bet, which are my favorite kind. You take the whole driverless, human driverless car thing, right? I mean, I've gotten into some amazing debates with people over that. It's amazing the feelings people have about that. It's absolutely fascinating. And so, yeah, it's, but I mean, the thing is that, if you look at what Jeremy did with Osiris, right? Like with this vehicle, right? Like that's a smaller scale of what I'm talking about. And so, so more people will get into that. What will probably end up happening, my prediction, someone who makes some money off Bitcoin.
Which happens easily. I mean,
someone who makes some money off Bitcoin. Like there was this one woman that I used to talk to on Twitter, and unfortunately she got kicked off. I really liked her. She was this mate. She was brilliant. She was a physics graduate, and but she was horrified when she discovered the kind of lab situations, and so she ended up making a boatload of money off Bitcoin, and basically cashed it in and built her own physics lab in LA, top of the line, spared no expense. And she's probably only about a year away from publishing her own papers out of her own lab. It's damn cool, right? And that's been completely funded by Bitcoin. It's nice,
There's a lot of people that done it. I mean, I've met people and been in their Lamborghinis.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, it's down to 40 grand or something right now. But I mean, last time,
just 40 grand, huh?
the last time I actually like went to go buy some, I think it was 1,400.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, it's been a hell of a run, and then the thing is that, I don't know which of these currencies, I don't know which ones of these specific currencies will survive. But if anyone thinks that digital currency is going away,
No, digital currency is actually the way of the future. I can see it coming.
It's been the way the whole time. I mean, we've had avatars for the digital money to make people feel better.
Yep.
But
so you're feeding the avatar wallet.
Yeah, but it's all been digital anyway, right? I mean, more money exists than is printed, right? So think about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's weird if you really think about it. It's super weird. It really is. So yeah, no, it's just. But I mean, I love this. I love the Boring Company. I like that project that Elon's doing. I'm a big fan of Tesla. I think the guy does a lot of good stuff. But I don't think he's done any. I don't think he's done this field any good whatsoever. And I think if anything, he's done harm.
Well,
not intentionally necessarily. I don't think he's like out to get us or anything like that. I just don't think it matters to him.
No, and that's one of his biggest things. Is I think he's treading lightly when it comes to that kind of area. You know what I mean? So he had the Boring Company, Tesla, and all that jazz, and he's really big on AI. In fact, he's one of the biggest contributors to AI, even though he's scared. Are we allowed to cuss now?
No.
Oh, damn. Well, shit. He's scared shitless of it, and but anyways,
well, I mean, there's a book out there called Super Intelligence by bugger. I can't remember the guy's name now. That was a book that, because I was on a machine learning team for about 3 or 4 years, and this book was required reading for us, to help build in a sense of danger in what we were doing, and that is that book will keep you up at night. That book.
Yeah. Let me ask you.
What he shows in that book is that the first country to achieve, the very first country to achieve an intelligence smarter than us will instantly have such a leap over every other country that they will never, ever, ever lose power again.
Could happen quick.
And he shows it with math. It's solid. It is solid. And then you take that and you extrapolate that into political decisions that have been made over the last couple of years about processors and what processors can get shipped where, and why certain processors get pulled, and why volume shipments get changed, and why certain countries decide to build fabs and other ones don't. And you can start seeing what's going on. And there's other people that have woken up to this. And so, there's a massive rush going on right now by several countries. They're all trying to build that first one, because it's a golden goose.
What do you think the United States is doing right now? It is on
everything
top of that.
everything and anything.
Everything. They are trying to build that. I've never had any concerns about the U.S. AI movement, because even when it's lulled in the academic world, the NSA has always been pretty pro. So and other countries have kind of fallen on the wayside and then really stepped up. But Canada's been doing a lot of good work in quantum too. Canada Quantum is actually really cool. The investment there is awesome. Quantum physics is just amazing in of itself.
It's I actually got to spend 3.5 years at Stanford learning quantum physics from Leonard Susskind. And
my wife hates it.
What's cool is that all those videos were filmed, and they're all on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's cool because now when anyone wants to learn physics, I just point them to this thing. But I actually got to sit in on all that. It was actually tremendous fun. It was the physics that got me into this field. For the first couple of years, all I cared about was the physics. I just looked at this entire field as a buffet. I was just looking for solutions to problems I already had. That's all I was looking for. I was just looking for solutions to problems I already had. I was looking for places to fit it in like a Lego. And then Grant came. And I blame Grant.
Well, I blame him too. There's a lot of that.
Gentlemen, I got to get ready for bed because I got to get up with my boy in the morning for school. Great conversation.
So how do you feel about being 30, Dave? You okay with that?
He's 33.
Oh, God. I cannot believe that I'm in my last year of my 40s. Where the hell did time go?
Last year, your 40s? Boy, that puts some pressure on you, doesn't it?
I know.
You have a lot to do in 12 months.
So here's the deal.
I have a lot to do.
He's in his last year of his 40s. I'm in the beginning of my 40s. This is what he looked like when he started SOR, and this is
Very
7 years
true.
later.
It's like the presidency, right? They walk in all looking young, and they walk out all white and gray, right?
No, he still looks young.
Shoes you up.
You got that right.
Well, the thing is Dave's never going to get any empathy from me at all on looking old in any way, shape, or form, because I really don't think anyone that has a head of hair like that has any right to complain in any way, shape, or form. I think you can go to hell for all I care.
You're goddamn right about that, right? Look at that gorgeous head of hair. You have a good night, my man.
Happy birthday, Dave.
Happy birthday, brother.
You guys, I want to say a big thank you tonight to Steve, Ozzy, Ange, C, Eddie ×2, Jenny, Doug, Smithy, D. Cohen, and Kira for the love on the super chats. It's a great way to support what we do on this show. And thank you, Dr. Zed Smith. It really does go downhill from here, Dave. Years fly by. I could just imagine. Just imagine. But I want to say thank you for all the love, everybody. And we'll see you tomorrow night for my birthday show. I have no idea who's coming on. Whoever wants to come on can come on. And, we'll just play it by ear. Talk some UFOs, talk some monsters, talk some experiences. We're going to have a fun night. I'm going to see if Joe Diamond's going to come on, talk some magic, and we'll see where it goes. See where it goes tomorrow night. Birthday show. I do it once a year. What the hell?
Why not?
That's what I do for a living. So we will see you all tomorrow night. And cheers, everybody. Thank you for the love. Very much appreciate it. Good night on behalf of Grant and John.